We're back on Baseball Tonight. Of course, the Derby coming up in just a little bit. And then we get into the T-Mobile Home Run Derby. I said the draft. The draft's coming up in a little bit. The T-Mobile Home Run Derby, Monday, 8 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN. The All-Star Game presented by MasterCard. Tuesday, you can see it on Fox and you can hear it on ESPN Radio. All right, so you're 17 years young, and here you are at the draft. Cam Caminiti joins us now. Congratulations. Like, I love the stories where people say, I've waited my whole life for this. Like, your life hasn't even started yet. I mean, how have you been dealing with this as a 17-year-old?
It's been crazy just going with my parents and just staying calm through the process, taking it one day at a time, and it's been crazy these past few weeks.
But I mean, like, has it been hard to sleep? Like, one day at a time stuff? That sounds like somebody said, tell them you've been doing it one day at a time. Like, I mean, really, like, do you eat right? Do you sleep? How do you deal with it?
It's tough. Sleeping's tough sometimes. Like last night, I had trouble going to sleep.
Really?
Just huge day today, thinking about it, and just don't know where I'm going to end up. So
what are the thoughts? Like, what do you think about? What keeps you up at night?
Like, where am I going to go? What team's going to get me? Will I make it? And all those big what ifs. So.
You're
Rev. Easy on the kid.
And throwing 98 miles an hour.
Yes, sir.
At what point did you start to recognize I have this unique ability?
When I was 14, when I first hit 90 miles an hour, and that was the turning point for me. And
just like Ravi.
Yeah.
We're at our summer team
90 miles an
seeing him
hour?
on the circuit this year.
Carl, do me a favor. Cam, could you please do your hand comparison with Carl right now?
This is not going to go well for Carl.
I got some mitts on me.
Yeah, I don't.
So, speaking of mitts, we've seen you throw a slider and a spike curveball.
Yes,
Some
sir.
scouts have different opinions which one's going to be better. Can you show us how you throw them? And
So this is how I throw my slider.
we're showing the video now, so everyone
like
can see what
this.
we're looking at.
And then this is the curveball, spike curveball. I mean, my slider is definitely more comfortable.
Here, hold on a second, because we're seeing the action.
Boss that one up a bit, and there's you see the spike.
There's the spike.
Looks pretty in slow-mo. All right, can you show the camera here?
Awesome.
All right, yeah, give it to Scary.
So I throw a slider here, just right on the horseshoe. This is really comfortable for me. Want to get some more velo on it, and then spike curveball, just like this. It's been a good pitch for me. Want to get it more 12-6, but got some things to work on still.
Trying to get that kind of action to it.
Yeah.
So you reclassify, right? So graduate early to be able to go into the draft this year, which, listen, man, that's impressive. Like, it's not easy for anybody to do. What was that decision process like, and then ultimately what brought you to it?
I mean, I talked to my parents and my advisor, Jack Friedman, and we just went over all the options. It was either stay in the 2025 class, move up to the 2024 class, or get my GED and go JUCO, like the Bryce Harper route. But I chose do one more year in my high school and win a state championship, and it worked out well. We won a state championship, and it was really about getting to face some better competition sooner and just challenging myself.
The breaking balls, you talked about the breaking balls. It seems like the high right fastball has always been there for you. When did you first get with technology and know that your fastball shape, not just the velocity, but the shape of the fastball was different?
When I was 15 years old, probably, working off the wrap soda with my pitching coach, Miles Moeller, and I mean, we just noticed that my two-seam had a lot of natural ride on it and run, so, I mean, I don't know, it's just a natural gift.
Yeah. Lastly, can you imagine yourself pitching at the major leagues at like 18 years old? Like, that's reality, right?
I didn't, honestly. It was crazy for me. I mean, classing up, and now I'm here. It's finally here. I'm super excited, so I'm excited to take the next step.
You're handling it really well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
it. All right, man.
Thank you.
Pleasure
Good work,
to see
buddy.
you. Best of luck tonight. And Caminiti, of course, cousin was Ken Caminiti.
Cam, good work, man.
Hey, everybody on the Bulls, everybody. The MLB app, your place for live baseball, real-time highlights, pitch-by-pitch updates, faster than ever. Get personalized highlight reels based on players you follow every day. Download the MLB app today. 14 years old, 90 miles an hour. Thanks for playing, everybody. Dakota Jordan will get the scoop from Jess Mendoza on him. What a story he's got to tell. Jess joins us as we continue on Baseball Tonight. We're back, Baseball Tonight, and it's sort of the floor of the rodeo. That's what they do in here, except tonight we're corralling all the great baseball talent. The Major League Baseball Draft Round 1 to be seen right here on ESPN. Baseball Tonight continues. One of the outstanding players at the collegiate level who unfortunately we watched during the Omaha College World Series with A&M sitting and being a cheerleader because broke his ankle. Is Braden Montgomery doesn't affect your draft status at all. You were such a cheerleader, an inspiration for people, knowing how hard it was to sit there. Tell us about your background upbringing that allowed you to maintain sort of that positive outlook in a time where you'd way prefer to be out on that field.
Yeah, for sure. I guess a big part of that growth is coming in college and working with the teams I've been part of, the chance to be a part of. Yeah, it's been awesome. So I think just learning how to become a better teammate day by day helped me to compartmentalize that stuff and really put things in perspective, because just because I went out, we still had a goal that we were trying to achieve since last August, and so I wasn't going to let that just leave us at that point.
You obviously can't hide the smile. We saw it all a couple of weeks in Omaha. You can't hide it here. Dealing with adversity. Baseball's all about that. You were at Stanford. You did great. I mean, I don't know how much adversity you've had as a baseball player. This ankle situation clearly is a big one. Did you have to learn how to deal with adversity that way, or had there been other bumps in the road?
I'd say other small bumps helped to, I guess, prepare me for that moment, because when it happened, it sucked, and I was emotional about the season being over and not being able to help the guys get to Omaha. But after that moment, after I got out of the training room, it was on to the next moment. Because
it's going well, because Berkey, he got a scooter we saw. He walked up on the set, which was great.
Yeah, good to see that. Hey, we got to hang out with Mark Teixeira last night, one of the great switch hitters of all time. You're obviously a switch hitter. I'd love to hear about your process, right and left, and which one was more natural, which one now you feel more comfortable with, and what are you hearing from teams as you head into Pro Bowl about switch hitting?
Right, yeah. It's tough because as a switch hitter, you never know which side's going to feel better on any given day. It's really just about kind of finding the middle, and it's tough approaching it and trying to get the reps on both sides, because I got to treat it like I'm two different hitters. And so if I haven't seen left-handed pitching in a week and a half, or I have one right-handed at back in a week and a half, it's almost like I haven't played on my right side. So that creates some unique challenges as far as preparation goes, but that's something I definitely work on each day and working on getting better, because I've got to see the arm slots and got to see the release height and release side that I'm going to be seeing in the game, just to prepare and know what's going to look like a strike and whatnot. So that's something I still deal with each day on working on perfecting, but a lot goes into it.
You got to college as a two-way star player. Now it's mostly been the outfield. How hard has it been not having to be on the bump?
It hadn't been too hard, because like I said, when something's not going on, I try not to focus on the fact that it's not happening and more focus on what is going on. And so, it was just more of, all right, I'm in the cage every day. What can I do to become the best hitter I can? Just try to focus on what I can do and what I can do to move the needle forward, not really on what's in the past or what had happened.
I think you should just hook up with Gerangelo, and then he can throw righty, and he can throw lefty, you can get righty. Just go there.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Player. Thanks, Braden. Good luck tonight. Appreciate you being here. And, of course, Braden Montgomery. Just so you can tell, Jess, the personalities of these guys early, whether it's Weatherholt or Sanger or this guy right here. I know you got another one to tell us about.
Yeah, Dakota Jordan, and so many different personalities. What's fun about him, he's from a small town, Canton, Mississippi, population 10,000, not known for baseball, but he's about to change that.
Sophomore from Canton, Mississippi, two-sport star coming out of high school.
That ball is gone, a home run.
All right, so growing up, were you Ole Miss or Mississippi State?
All right.
Holly, am I on the back end?
Don't get mad at me, but I grew up Ole Miss fan. I grew up Ole Miss fan, but I always loved watching Mississippi State baseball, and I always wanted to play in front of the Mississippi State crowd.
You're a multi-sport athlete, though, so you played baseball, football, what other sports?
I ran track, played basketball, played a little bit of soccer. I could do it all.
So how many years were you doing all those things?
Since all up until I want to say my junior year of high school is when I kind of numbed it down to two sports.
Lifts it in the air to right. It's a walk-off! Dakota Jordan, the hero for Mississippi State.
Tell me about kind of the neighborhood you grew up in and what it was like.
Oh, it was a rough neighborhood. A lot of gun violence, but for me, I had a different route that I wanted to take, and I'm taking it now. Not many people take the route that I'm taking. Like I said, like not many people grew up playing baseball. I'm the first one from Camp, Mississippi to play baseball and then make it this far in it. So I just want to show the youth that like you can do anything is possible.
What was the peer pressure like to do a lot of those things that were outside of sports, and why did you say no?
Really my mom and how she separated me from a lot of people. Like I remember she would make me come in as soon as the street light hit, because she knew like it could get a little dangerous whenever it got dark time. So she kind of kept me on my 10 toes and like kept me level-headed and tunnel vision.
And he talked about playing all those sports. What's unique, though, he ran track and baseball in the same season, Rav, and when he was doing that, he won long jump, won the relays, would jump in the car. He's changing his clothes, baseball uniform, and getting right to game time for his games. We talk about multiple sport athletes, how important that is. Dakota Jordan, a perfect example.
Yeah, those gimmicks they used to do during those minor league games where you had to change clothes and run between first and third base, he won that, too. We'll talk with another superstar athlete, Christian Moore of the national champion Tennessee Volunteers, as we continue heading right up to the Major League Baseball draft. It's coming live from Fort Worth, Texas, and Simo joins us right after this. We're back, suit up for the summer, MLBshop.com. Check out the largest selection of official jerseys, caps, t-shirts, collectibles, and more. Gear up with your favorite team at MLBshop.com. Take a look at StatCast. It's powered by Google Cloud. The hardest hit balls at the 2024 College World Series. Hey now, Caglianone's on there twice, and this guy Christian Moore is on there 4 times, and all 4 of those came in the same game.
Yeah, against Florida State. Thanks. Thanks, Simo.
Eduardo has not been able to let that go. He, of course, won a national championship. Thanks very much for joining us.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for having me.
We
It's a blast being here. Yes,
that looked like Aaron Judge in the major leagues after a home run derby. 4 of the hardest hit ball. How hard have you worked to get to where you're at? Tell
Definitely.
people.
I think, when you come in as a freshman, and you got so many, good guys ahead of you, they kind of show you the ropes. And then really just working hard, trying to really lock in on, the type of player I am and the type of swing I want. And really, like I said, it took 3 years of working every day with the coaching staff and just guys ahead of me. And, everything kind of just clicked this year, as you saw. And like I said, it was real fun.
Now, I assume you use a lot of video to help yourself. When you see yourself on the video, where are you with regards to what you like about your swing, your balance? What are the things that you say, nail that?
Definitely. So for me, like, my key is really just staying stacked, with my posture, stuff like that. Anytime I see myself getting out of my posture, I never really took a good swing. So definitely, and from the side view, I want to see myself not, leaning forward. I want to stay, like I said, stay on that back side and swing off that back leg.
How's your life changed since you won the College World Series?
Dude, it's been crazy. It's been going here, taking pictures, doing this, doing that. But it's fun, it's what you dream of as a kid. And like I said, I'm blessed to be in this position. Really good group of guys over at Tennessee. Shout out to them. Definitely, those guys worked hard. And, 1 through 9 was dangerous. And it was a beautiful thing.
I know in this situation it's hard to say which particular team you want to draft you, but what are the things that would appeal to you in a team?
Definitely just, development, definitely one, and then just a good fan base. Coming from Tennessee, those fans definitely treated me well for the last 3 years, so I definitely want to, I know, they're here right now, so definitely want to, carry that over to the big leagues.
Coolest thing you've done since you won a national championship? What was the
coolest thing I've done since winning?
Yeah.
Well, I got to sit with Ryan Howard, Drew Jones, CC Sabathia, Nick Swisher, guys like that yesterday. Being here, it's been a crazy experience. Sitting next to legends and Hall of Famers and guys that you watch growing up. It's a beautiful thing.
Did our guy Swisher let anyone else talk?
Oh,
yeah, no, he did. But he was the most excited.
Oh,
I wasn't expecting that. I like the energy.
Hey, tell us about the parade. Seriously, I don't think a lot of people outside of the Knoxville bubble maybe saw it. Were you expecting that kind of response?
No, man, not really. Really, I couldn't really hear what he said. What did he say?
The parade. The national championship parade.
Oh, parade. Dude, like I said, the fan base was insane. It was, I don't know how many people, thousands of people. And, man, it was nothing but, fans. Can I get pictures? Can I get autographs?
I hate to say it, but there were some people that got their feet ran over by the Jeeps. It was crazy. But like I said, really good experience. And again, like, this fan base is one of a kind.
Simo, how defense? Everybody talks about your hitting because it's elite. Defense, how much pride do you take in that defense?
I take a lot of pride in defense. You know, I started the year off at shortstop, and like I said, I take a lot of pride in that, being able to be a leader, you know, up the middle the last 2 years. And that, you know, we take it serious every single day, getting reps every single day. So it's something that, you know, at Tennessee, you know, that's something you got to do is defend before you can hit. So like I said, we take pride in it. And it's something that I can't wait to elevate, you know, at the next level.
Take pride in that bling, too. You are shining tonight, man.
Hey now.
You are shining. That's Christian Moore, Tennessee. Certainly to hear his name in round one. We'll continue here. The draft starts in just a couple of minutes. And a reminder, it's not only the draft tonight, it's the T-Mobile Home Run Derby tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN. We'll have baseball tonight and SportsCenter coverage all day. And then the MLB All-Star Game presented by MasterCard Tuesday, 8 Eastern on Fox. And you can hear the entire game on ESPN Radio. Back to wrap up baseball tonight after this. Hey now, Yankees, Orioles. What a game today, and soon some of these dudes will be playing in the major leagues. Look at the home run derby guy. Gunnar Henderson exits stage right.
And this is what Gunnar has done all season long. You hang him a breaking ball, he'll pull it. You throw him a fastball, he'll go the other way. Consistency all season.
Anthony Santander, high hard, and that's history on Tommy Kahnle.
You know you hit it far when the right fielder doesn't move. Like, that's officially a no-doubter.
Hi, Orioles had a 3-2 lead, ninth inning. That's where it all happened. Ben Minute Rice, half a minute. Gets into one to right, and it is yard.
After 2 walks, you get the home run right there. Huge home run.
You're going boomer on us now.
Minute Rice?
Ben Minute Rice. I like it.
Volpe, game's over. Game's not over.
This is one of the sure-handed guys in baseball. He took a step back.
Got caught on his heels, yeah.
This should do it. Verdugo.
No.
The Orioles on Sunday before the break. Another heartbreaker for the Yankees, who stumble into the break. The Red Sox did win today. They've moved right into the same conversation as the Orioles and the Yankees. Just one of the games, of course. SportsCenter later tonight will get you the rest of the baseball highlights. You see the uniforms there. I'll say this, over the course of the hour of baseball tonight we just had, how are you not blown away by the composure of a 17-year-old all the way through the guy that won the national? Like, you're blown away by that, aren't you?
All of it. From Weatherholt to Moore and everything in between, I thought those guys were all super impressive.
I think the cool thing is their comfort level when they had a microphone in their hand matches their comfort level when they're playing. And when you get that combination, it gives you a really good chance to be successful.
You look the athleticism of these guys here and the aptitude of being able to talk about who they are and who they're going to be, really impressive as well.
Talking about their data, understanding who they are, having self-awareness, knowing how to hold a microphone when there's not 15 beat writers. You're not playing for the Yankees when you're in the SEC or in high school.
Right.
Like, that's something I still don't know how to do. Maybe I should talk to them.
I tell you, it does remind you, though, that for all the numbers that people look at, like, still inside the uniform, it's a dude, it's a guy,
yeah.
And a lot of times it's a young guy that has got to go perform on biggest stages.
Cam Caminiti's supposed to be a high school senior in like a month and a half. Now he's got a chance to hear his name called tonight to potentially get handed $5, $6, $7 million and say, okay, kid, it's time to go. Based on what we just heard, sounds like he's ready.
Like, it's cliche to say, and I hear it a lot, given the impact that young players are having on the game, but the game's in great shape. That was another reminder of where the game is.
The future's here, and a lot of these guys, they will be playing in the big leagues next year. That's how good they are.
I want to thank everybody that's worked on baseball tonight. The draft will start in about 8 seconds. For Chris Burke and Kyle Peterson, Eduardo, Kylie, Jess, and Passon, I'm Carl Ravitch.
The draft is considered by many to be the most important event in the calendar.
We coming for more.
Charlie Condon got all of that one.
He's arguably the best home run hitter we've seen in a long time.
We coming for more. If you hear me, cause I came to bring the noise.
Travis Bazzana. Remember the name, ladies and gentlemen.
Swinging, and he did it again. Another home run. Everyday competitor. I'm not insane, I'm a leveler.
16. Are you having fun yet?
You can go and choose to be the best. You can choose to settle with the rest.
Tips! Big time players come up in big time situations.
We're coming for more. We coming for more.
The MLB Draft comes to Texas. We're in Fort Worth, about a half hour away from Dallas. And we got some very, very big boys, not only in the roads outside, but inside here. It's a virtual cattle call of baseball talent, where tonight the future of Major League Baseball franchises will be enhanced, organizations fortified for the future by young men in their late teens and early 20s. 59 years ago, 1965, the first amateur draft, and it's only grown in stature and in significance. Like the bulls that come out of those chutes, we got players ready to take on the major leagues. We're ready for the next 3+ hours. That's Chris Burke and Kyle Peterson, Eduardo Perez, Kylie McDaniel. I'm Carl Ravitch. We have Jeff Paston and Jess Mendoza as well. All you need to know about the draft is Tuesday night, Paul Skeens starts the All-Star game. He was drafted last year, #1. They come, and they come quickly, Kyle.
They do, and in what figures to be a college hitter-heavy draft, there's two clear leaders as far as the first pitcher that's taken in this draft, and it's Hagen Smith and Chase Burns. And I think it'll be interesting, and we'll talk about it as it goes, their comparison to what Skeens is last now. Right, wrong, or indifferent, the reality is Skeens' route to starting the All-Star game a year out from being drafted, now we want to look at who potentially could be the next star.
Yeah, and Skeens gets the headlines, but let's not forget about Wyatt Langford. He's a budding superstar as well, and so college hitters are going to go often, they're going to go early, and there's a couple more from this draft that could make an impact quickly.
Guys, big-time athletes in this one, and we just witnessed in the last hour how confident they are with the mic. Baseball is going to be in really good hands.
And going to Berkey's point, the college class outstanding, the very top of the high school class. We got a couple standouts. Last year, 20 of the top 37 picks were high school players. This year, it's going to be half, maybe a third of that. It's going to be college heavy.
Passon.
Yeah, the top of the draft this year, the Cleveland Guardians with the #1 overall pick have a number of college players that they could choose. Among them, Travis Pizzana, J.J. Weatherholt, Charlie Condon, all stars, and of course Jack Caglione. It would surprise no one at this point, though, if Travis Pizzana were the #1 pick overall. Jessica?
Yeah, we got some fun get-to-knows because these guys are super unique, some fun hometowns. We got a guy best friends with an MLB player from 5 years old. We get to know them throughout the entire draft.
All right, Jess dressed appropriately. The hat works really well. We'll see hats and jerseys. We've seen outfits as well. And, of course, the commissioner is here tonight, and he will announce all the selections. The Cleveland Guardians will be the first team to pick. The way this worked, it fell beautifully for the team that's having as good a season as anybody. They had about a 2% chance to end up with the #1 overall pick. They end up with the #1 overall pick. The commissioner, of course, Rob Manfred, like he's walking out of a saloon, man. He's ready to introduce and get this party started as the draft last year unveiled Skeens and Langford, etc. And this year, we'll see a whole new crop of stars.
Good evening, everybody. On behalf of Major League Baseball, I'd like to welcome you to the 2024 draft. We are thrilled to be here tonight at Cowtown Coliseum in the historic Fort Worth Stockyards. I'd like to welcome the young men who have joined us here tonight. This night represents a significant milestone in your careers. For some, it may be the first of many trips to All-Star Week. Perhaps it may even be the first step to a Hall of Fame career. Next week in Cooperstown, the Baseball Hall of Fame will welcome its class of 2024. For 21 seasons, including 8 terrific years here in Texas, Adrian Beltre was a fan favorite Adrian was a fan favorite and a model of consistency on the field. A 4-time All-Star, a 5-time Gold Glove Award winner, more than 3,000 career hits, and now a Hall of Famer. Before we introduce the next wave of stars to our game tonight, we welcome Adrian to this stage and congratulate him for an outstanding career. Adrian, would you like to do the honors?
And now we turn the 2024 draft to the Cleveland Guardians, who had the first pick.
All right, there they are, the Cleveland Guardians. As we hit the All-Star break, the Guardians have the best record in the American League. The rich about to get richer. What direction will they go? We'll find out next.
The 2024 MLB Draft is presented by Nike. Just do it.
Back here inside the Cowtown Coliseum, baseball will see its future soon determined. The Guardians have the #1 pick as we are rejoined on the set by Chris, Kyle, and of course Eduardo. Kylie, there's been some question about what direction to go in. Much of it has to do with finances, etc. Maybe explain quickly like how this all works and why, if Travis Bazzana was the perceived #1, he may not go #1.
Yeah, so in baseball, it is not like football and basketball. Football and basketball, you just take the best player. If you don't like who you're looking at, you trade up, you trade down, and it's just a set amount you get paid. In baseball, you get a set pool of how much money you have. There's a suggestion, a slot amount for each pick, but then you can pay whatever you want. And so the idea is if there's a player that you think is second best, but everyone thinks he's 7th best and he's going to price himself 7th best, then maybe you look for the best value. Cleveland is one of those teams. They would then consider that player first, even though he's perceived to be 7th because they think he's second, they could get a lower price.
You have an opinion? Like if you were picking, if you were the Guardians, Kyle, who would you take?
I mean, we've talked about this. I think Jack Cagliano's the best player in this draft, and that's why I would. I don't think Jack Cagliano's going first. So just to be clear, I don't think that's going to happen, but if I were picking, I would take Jack Cagliano. To Kylie's point, I think it's interesting. Last year, Paul Skeens was the #1 pick. He took less than Slot. He took $9 million. Slot this year is over 10.5. And so if there's a year where you can look comparative to last year for the Guardians and say we like 4 or 5 different guys, I would suspect this is a year they try to save a little bit on that first pick.
Well, I think you got to remember, too, they have the biggest pool.
Yeah.
They have plenty of money to spend. So to me, whoever they have #1 on their board, they should take because I think they have plenty of money to play with to still float high schoolers later in the draft.
All right, the commissioner's about to come out. The Guardians have made their selection. Will it be Caglione? Will it be Weatherholt? Will it be Travis Bazzana? Commissioner Rob Manfred with the #1 overall pick of this 2024 Major League Baseball draft.
With the first pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Cleveland Guardians select Travis Bazzana, a second baseman from Oregon State University. The Cincinnati Reds have the next pick.
So it's Travis Bazzana, Oregon State, by way of Australia. He's at Oregon State. This is the reaction that the family and Bazzana would give when his name was announced by the Guardians. Outstanding hit tool who's married to the metrics and getting better and better.
Makes presentations to his team about what pitches they should be swinging at, how often they should be swinging. He is plus runner, above average defender at second base, above average hit tool, plus pitch selection, plus power. Might be able to hit 25 or 30 while playing second, stealing some bags, contributing in all phases. He's well-rounded, but the power and patience is the selling point.
He joins Adley Rutschman, of course, having a phenomenal season and a phenomenal career with the Orioles as the #1 overall picks out of Oregon State. So that's 2 #1 picks in 5 years.
Yeah, and Travis Bazzana to me was always going to be this pick. There was some poker being played, I think, by the Guardians, but it felt like he was number one, and for good reason. We're going to show this for two reasons. Number one, watch him stay inside this ball and keep it fair. Number two, watch the joy and excitement once he realizes this ball literally faded back inside the foul pole. This is what you're getting with Travis Bazzana. Energy, enthusiasm, infectious joy. Think kind of like a left-handed hitting Alex Bregman. He's that kind of ball player. This year, the big jump in power from 11 home runs to 28, mostly because he really got to his full-side power. He stole 65 bases in 3 years, so it's crazy instincts. It's enough speed to swipe a bag, and he can really play second base. This right here illustrates it. That's as hard a play as you'll make at second base, going right, throwing from the shortstop side of the bag. So he has different arm angles. He has different speeds on his fastball as he goes left towards first base. Watch him change his arm angle. He can do everything you want a second baseman to do, and there's a serious hit factor.
Guys, just think about this. You look at the Cleveland Guardians lineup now, and let's just picture and put Travis Bazzana right in there. You end up with Stephen Kwan, who comes out of Oregon State as well. He's a typical, prototypical Cleveland Guardian player. Josh Naylor, the same thing. This is lefty, another lefty. Let's not even count away Jose Ramirez. It's a switch hitter. He fits perfect into his profile. Great eye, works counts, steals bases. Cleveland Guardians all the way right here. This fits their mold.
He's the first second baseman in baseball history to be taken #1 in the draft.
And obviously the first native of Australia. That's never happened before. It's interesting when you look at the history of baseball in Australia. All-time home run leader, born in Australia, Dave Nielsen. Hit 30 of them. Travis Bazzana's got a chance to hit a lot more than 30 if he continues to go. That's his Oregon State career. Berkey hit on it significantly more walks than strikeouts in his time. Significantly more. Over the course, 180 walks, 146 strikeouts in 3 years of Division I baseball, and playing for one of the better offenses in the country. He's got a chance to be a star.
All right, from Oregon, we now welcome the #1 overall draft pick, Travis Bazzana. He joins us here as we continue our coverage. Travis, can you hear me? And if so, congratulations on being the #1 pick. What does that mean to you? Travis, I'm not sure he can hear me, but we'll get back to him and fix that. Not only the strikeout to walk ratio, you mentioned the idea that if you're his roommate, your OPS goes up 200 points because he seems to have this unique ability to understand what the pitcher is trying to do to the hitter. And Ryan Roland Smith, another Australian guy, met Bazzana when he was 12. Roland Smith played in the majors alongside some great players. He said Bazzana's the best athlete of any of them.
It's really interesting. So it's 76 walks. Like 76 walks. It's 25% walk rate this year. Yet he's still at 28 homers and had 48 extra base hits. So you could knock him and say, dude, why aren't you swinging more? But when he swung the bat, it was All-American damage, Pac-12 Player of the Year. So it's really interesting. I'm going to watch him pro ball if that swing rate goes up a little bit more, though.
And the takeaway I would give you is Bazzana is maybe the most polished hitter in this draft. He might be in the big leagues next year. And also for the fans at home, what sort of pick did they make here? Condon and Bazzana were a coin flip for the #1 talent. This is doing the right thing, taking the best player, paying what you got to pay him, and then getting a big leaguer next season. Cleveland made the right call.
Quickly, biggest challenge for a hitter who had great success in college to emulate the success in the major leagues?
I think it's the velocity. The Pac-12, we showed the stat. He hit 4 home runs on 94 plus. He's proven he can hit velocity, but to see it every single day, I think that'll be the biggest jump for him.
All right, so we've had the Guardians. We stay in the Rust Belt. Now it's the Cincinnati Reds. Their pick is in, and the commissioner, Rob Manfred, is making his way to the podium. Does it stay with the college hitters? Do they go pitcher? Do they go high schooler?
With the second pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Cincinnati Reds select Chase Burns, a right-handed pitcher from Wake Forest. The Colorado Rockies have the next pick.
Well, this is interesting. Obviously, Bazzana was perceived by many to be the #1. Visually, this guy matches up with anybody, including Skeens, given his size, his fastball velocity, and his ability to spin the baseball.
Yeah, big righty, explosive fastball and slider, grade favorably compared to Skeens. as KP said in the pregame show, the control and command are good enough to start. I don't think they're quite at Skeen's level, so I wouldn't expect that. But I think a lot of teams see the developmental elements here. He has 4 pitches. There's a curveball and a changeup that look like above-average pitches. You can turn this guy into an ace. It'll take a couple years, but he's got a chance to be that kind of guy.
6'3", 210.
He threw 100 innings. He struck out 191 guys.
That's a lot.
He averaged over 17 strikeouts this year per 9 innings. I think it's interesting when you look at Chase Burns and some of the things that maybe have changed a little bit from last year. Average fastball velo is up 1 mile an hour from last year. Now he's a starter. This changed too, where he was on the rubber. Last year more in the middle. This year, one thing that they did at Wake Forest, and Corey Moscato saw this early, was let's move to the right side. Kind of talked about the fastball. It averaged about 98 miles an hour the entire year. It's been up to 101. And the control of it has been pretty consistent, honestly, all the way through college. I think the misses were smaller. Real 4-pitch guy. So we talk about how good the slider is, and you're going to see how good it is right now. But the reality is he does have a curveball that has continued to get better and is truly different from what the slider is. And he's got a real changeup. I mean, it's 4 different pitches when Burns gets into the big leagues, and ultimately 2 of them are better than major league average right now. When you look at fastball and slider, the other 2 have a chance to get there. Maybe a surprise that he goes to, but definitely not a reach at all, even if you've watched him. I saw him twice this year. Both of those 2 starts, he looked like a big league starter that day.
You know, you look at the only knock that he's going to have to develop at the minor league is against lefties. It's the only thing. He's got that swing and miss. It's elite. The changeup has to develop. Once he gets that pitch going with more consistency, this kid together with Hunter Green with the Cincinnati Reds, Abbott, watch out. It's a really good combination. It's hard to sign pitchers in Cincinnati. You have to draft them there with the Great American Ballpark. So I think this is a really good pick for the Queen City.
And a lot of folks looked at the Rockies and thought they would then maybe draft Burns or Smith, a pitcher in Colorado. So Burns is off the board. The RPM, the spin rate, which we talk a lot about, is about 300 RPMs higher than the major league average. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. They haven't really legislated out the ability to have some sticky stuff on your hand. How can you translate what he does so well to the next level? Are you concerned at all about that?
No, I'm not concerned. And one of the biggest reasons is because of his understanding of what the arsenal is. So when he went to Wake Forest, they did change a few things. Listen, he had 2 great years at Tennessee, so let's not get away from that. But when he went to Wake Forest, one was understanding body movement to home plate. So ultimately, how do you keep that as linear as possible to keep that fastball doing exactly what he wants to do? And 2 was a separation between the slider and the curveball. We talk a ton about the slider, and it's a big-time pitch. So is the curveball. The shape is different. The velocity is different. The use is different. And as he gets into pro ball, I think that even becomes more of a differentiator.
I don't know where you had him in your mock draft, but it felt like this guy could go anywhere from 2 to 7.
Yeah, I had the last mock. I had him and Condon as 2 to 3 in some order. I had him flipped. We'll see if Condon goes 3 and that holds up. But the perception was he could go anywhere from 2 to 6. He was in the conversation at 1, but he probably wasn't a realistic option. This is the top of his range.
I love how organizations value different players differently. I really think that's such a neat part of this. There are the scouting grades that you gave to Chase Burns.
So to give a little more context, if things don't work out immediately in the minors for Burns, it's going to be because he runs into a day where maybe he doesn't have his fastball command. The curve and change are sort of tertiary pitches for him now. He'll rely on the slider. And we know as you get to AA, if you've got one pitcher commanding over the plate, then guys can hit it. Now in college, you can throw a 70-grade slider and guys just get out. So that's the question. The difference between a Paul Skeens outcome and a Jack Leiter outcome is, does he command all 4 and make those adjustments? Then he's more toward the Skeens area. Is he commanding one pitch, hot and cold? Maybe the velo slips a little bit. Then he's more the Jack Leiter route.
Commissioner, in about 30 seconds. It's classic because you got the Great American Small Park in Cincinnati and Colorado. Like, where would you rather pitch?
I'll take Cincinnati.
Yeah, well, I knew where you were going to go. Maybe the I do think one thing about Burns is if you look at his career, he does give up a lot of home runs. That's what he gave up double-digit home runs in all 3 years. And so that's one thing that will need to get a little bit better in the Pro Bowl.
All right. So the Rockies, they're out on Burns. The commissioner, Rob Manfred, is set to announce who Colorado will select with the 3rd pick in the draft.
With the 3rd pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Colorado Rockies select Charlie Condon, an outfielder from the University of Georgia. The Oakland Athletics have the next pick.
He won the Dick Howser Trophy, College Baseball's National Player of the Year, the Golden Spikes Award as the top amateur player, 37 home runs and OPS over 1565. He wasn't on anyone's radar coming out of high school, and now he's the third pick in the draft.
Well, let's look at this one in context. Go back 2013, 11 years ago. Bill Schmidt, the GM of the Colorado Rockies, was the scouting director of the Colorado Rockies, taken third overall. He wanted Chris Bryant. He could not get Chris Bryant. He went second. Colorado took John Gray, pretty good pick. He then gave Chris Bryant $182 million in 2022. Charlie Condon, the comp, is Chris Bryant. Bill Schmidt loves this kind of player. He got my #1 player on the board at #3. I think it was a great pick for Colorado here. Fits their style to a T.
Yeah, I like the Chris Bryant comp. I like the Alec Bohm comp. It's a long athlete that knows how to hit the ball in the air. Charlie Condon's been doing that since the second he came on campus at Georgia. The other thing I think you see as he's celebrating here with his family, the other thing I think about Condon that's really neat, similar to Langford, not exactly similar players, but similar to Langford, there's a blue-collar nature, a humility about him for a kid that had to redshirt. So here's an at-bat. I want to show you who Charlie Condon is. First pitch, he's cheating to a heater. He swings and misses a slider. Second pitch, he gets a slider away. He's ticked at the umpire on a ball that was outside that's called a strike. He regathers himself. He's still yelling at the umpire, basically, and it's 95 above his belt. So far, we can't see the ball land on TV. Like, don't try to find it. I'm not certain that we could ever see it land. This is who Charlie Condon is. He can get to a fastball at any part of the zone in any count. Here's a fastball down and away. Look at him getting to his right knee. For a big man, he can get into his right knee and get below the baseball on a breaking ball down and away. So you look at the amount of balls he's hitting the air. And here's another heater. That's Derek Smith on the mound, who's about 70% breaking ball. He's late on a heater, but because the barrel's in the zone, he can still backspin it out to right field. So do not throw this man a fastball. But he learned how to elevate the breaking ball this year, too. And we're going to take a look at one of the most unique, high-profile players ever. He played 5 positions this year. You don't ever see that with superstar players.
And a legitimate straight walk-on at Georgia. Not a preferred walk-on, just a walk-on to your blue-collar mentality.
Yeah, and it's not like the parents went to Georgia, right? Dad ended up going to Auburn. Mom's a Vandy person, so Dad can be a Tiger after this. But one thing that he was quoted as saying, earn the pitch, earn the opportunity.
Look at the hot zone here. That looks like the monster from Stranger Things. It's just attacking the entire strike zone. Let's go back. We said this earlier. Langford played like 3 games as a freshman and was in the big leagues 2 years later. Yeah. This guy couldn't play for Georgia, who was not that good when he was a freshman.
Not a game his freshman year.
He redshirted, and now he's going bananas through the SEC and is a guy that, check out these metrics. This looks like a guy that should belong in the big leagues. He also has his own little strike zone. Some of his chase rate that we've seen is a little up and in. He moves his strike zone toward him and stays away from those outer pitches. Berkey showed he can still hit him out. He's just not trying to get to him. This guy, I think, will play third base. Chance to go to the outfield. 30 home run outside.
All right, let's try one more time to welcome in Travis Bazzana. He is in Oregon. Our communications didn't work the first time. Hopefully they're working a little better now. There's a smile and a deep breath. Congratulations. What does being the #1 overall pick mean to you, Travis?
It means a lot. It's hard to put in words, but it means everything. I think that, I'm just stoked, and I'm really happy to be with the people I am with here right now.
I know how important this is, not only for you, but for Australia. Why don't you share with us what your goals are with regards to not only your own career in baseball, but baseball in Australia?
Yeah, I see a lot of opportunity, and I see an opportunity to make an impact on a lot of baseball players and a lot of just people back home in Australia, and hopefully change the narrative for baseball there. I think World Baseball Classics and Olympics are something that I want to see on the cards, and hopefully really compete there, but just give belief to the players back home to go do great things in the U.S. and pursue a major league dream, and hopefully this is a step towards that.
Wonderful. I can tell you got a phenomenal support group behind you. Congratulations to you and all the people that have helped you along this journey.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. He's going to an incredible organization. He clearly comes from an incredible family and background. And from Australia, next stop, minor leagues, not a long stop until he's in Cleveland.
How about this? 2019, when he was 16 years old, came out with his own World Baseball Classic.
With the 4th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Oakland Athletics select Nick Kurtz, a first baseman from Wake Forest. The Chicago White Sox have the next pick.
Well, here's another guy originally recruited out of high school, the Baylor School in Chattanooga, as a pitcher. He was a little down this year because of injury, but we saw him last year. He is a legit left-handed hitter.
I ran into him by accident in high school going to see Cooper Kinney, his teammate that went the first round.
Yeah.
This guy had a rocket his first time up. I go, who's that guy? And the scouts are like, oh, he wants $1 million. He's not worth it. And I was like, I don't know, man. He hit that ball really hard. And then he just went bananas for 3 years at Wake Forest. If it works out, the best case scenario, this is an Anthony Rizzo-type talent.
You know, and one thing about Nick Kurtz this season, you see the numbers right there, but it's the presence that he has at the plate. Nick Kurtz, since he's got into Wake Forest, one thing he was able to do is hit the ball all over the place. You see the 6'5" frame, stands tall at the plate, hands are tucked in, and that's something that maybe in pro ball he's going to have to make a little bit of an adjustment. But in the collegiate level, he was hitting everything opposite field with power. If you throw something soft enough, he was going to drive it. He was going to the pull side, the straightaway center. But the opposite field power was legit. And in their ballpark, a ballpark conducive to hit a lot of home runs to his pull side, he stayed true to his swing. Nick Kurtz, this could and will translate at the next level.
Late March until April, about the second week of April, he had 14 homers in 10 games.
Yeah, he did a lot of his work in a couple weeks. He's dealt with some injuries. This is a guy that could have been 1-1 to start the year. I think it's a great pick for the A's. It's a very modern hitter. He walks a ton. He's going to strike out, but he hits the ball in the air 70% of the time. And how about that, boys? Wake Forest with the number 2 and the number 4 pick. And they're not done yet here in the first round. Seaver King's going to go in the top 20 picks as well. But Nick Kurtz is going to hit home runs, and he's going to get on base at a very high level in the big leagues.
His coach, Tom Walter, said he's the best hitter I've ever coached. Walter's been around for a while. He's coached some. So Nick Kurtz now going to the Oakland A's. Bring Jess in on this. No, I'm sorry. I thought I heard you say bring Justin on this. Beyond the bang that he had this year, there are some questions about his defensive abilities. How much does he have to grow in that side of the ball?
I think he's more athletic than people give him credit for. I think he sticks at first, but he's rangy. I think the hands are there. Like Kaggs, though, I would leave him alone at first. I think he's a better athlete, though, than people give him credit for.
I think he's got a chance to be a really good first baseman by the time it's done. I mean, the moves over there are right. He looks comfortable at first base. That's, I think, where he wants to play for the most part, and that matters.
How much different is he than Caglione, then?
He's safer.
Yeah,
he's safer.
Maybe. Everybody keeps saying this safer thing with Caglione, and for me, the safer is built around Chase. Is that fair? Like, is
that's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is.
Fair.
It's a 14% chase to a 37% chase.
Can I add something here?
But the damage, it would still be in Caglione's favor.
The development phase of the minor leagues. Guys, these guys are not going to go straight to the big leagues. There's a development phase. Caglione last year, right, struck out over 55 times. Not exact number, but this year he struck out in the 20s. He made an adjustment. These players will make an adjustment. Plus, they'll play more games, and I think that is a telling tale when it comes to an organization.
I'll tell you the other thing, too. I mean, listen, Nick Kurtz is a heck of a hitter, and I'd be very happy to get him. So this is not a Nick Kurtz knock. But when it comes to Caglione, nobody pitched to him. Like, he didn't see a whole lot, and so ultimately I think it's natural that you get a little bit jumpy at the plate. You just want to swing a little bit. I'm not saying that it counts for everything. It definitely doesn't.
No, but you asked the question. You asked why.
Yeah.
Why? I think Oakland feels like it's safer, but it would be scary to have passed up in Kaggs on this pick. That would be my point.
4 so far have passed on a guy that may have the best pure power that we've ever seen in college baseball.
Right. Couple relevant things here. I think the 3 most polished, quickest moving hitters in the draft went in the first 4 picks. They were the first 3 hitters. It's also important to mention that 10, 15 years ago, drafts were run by scouting directors. Now they're run by GMs. GMs are thinking about trade value. Who's going to be here before my contract ends? Who do all 30 teams want to trade for? Who's not going to have a hiccup and maybe be in the big leagues next year? year. We don't know if that's Kaggs or not, but it's more likely to be Kurtz, whereas Kaggs might hit 50. Right. He also might be worse than Kurtz, and Kurtz will probably hit 25 or 30. Still a very good player.
So Bazzana, Burns, Condon, Nick Kurtz, the four that were taken. Still waiting to hear Hagen Smith's name, Jack Caglione's name, and others. And it's the Chicago White Sox. It is amazing how your draft board, you need to have a whole bunch of options. Yeah. But boy, it can blow up on you quick if you were dead set on one guy. That goes away. All right, the White Sox pick is in. We send it to the podium and the commissioner.
With the 5th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Chicago White Sox select Hagen Smith, a left-handed pitcher from the University of Arkansas. The Kansas City Royals have the next pick.
So a record-breaking strikeout per 9 number for Hagen Smith, just a tick ahead of Chase Burns. And I don't know, the White Sox once had Chris Sale slinging from the left side. Is there any comp between that guy?
It's hard to comp anyone to Chris Sale, but the chatter in the weeks leading up to the draft is that the White Sox and the Royals were looking at Hagen Smith to do a Brandon Finnegan, or more likely, if we're looking on the optimistic side for the White Sox, a Chris Sale, Grant Crochet, get him to the big leagues as a reliever, and then transition him to starter later, and find that he might be good at both of them.
And that could happen quickly. I mean, the Royals,
well, yeah,
would have been in the playoffs or have a chance to be in the playoffs.
I mean, listen, the best thing about Hagen Smith is his fastball slider is, I mean, one of the best, top 2 combinations in the entire country. The only guy that's similar to him is Chase Burns. The most challenging thing, if you're a team right now, is it's primarily 2 pitches, but those 2 pitches are both big league ready right now. It's a fastball that averaged about 96 miles an hour. It's a slider that has as much swing and miss as about anybody in the country. Now, if you want to have a knock, the control of the strike zone, different than Burns that it has. Hagen Smith doesn't throw quite as many strikes, but you can see the difference. That slider and then the fastball that doesn't have like otherworldly spin on it, but his ability to know where to throw it, how to use it, he does get a lot of chase on the slider. I think you see, and Kylie, you dive into this because you were talking about it the other day. It shows you where the stuff is.
Yeah, imagine you got a pencil in your hand. You want to draw a circle that gets 90% of the blue in it and one that gets 90% of the green in it. They're really big circles. Now in college, we know this works. In AA, are they going to chase all those sliders in the dirt? Can he be more precise when he needs to? We had the conversation with Kaggs. Can he adjust his chase once he's forced to? He demolished college baseball. Yes. Is this going to keep working? Will he have to make an adjustment? Will he be able to? The other one is he's throwing the change up a little bit of a split. Doesn't throw it a ton. Doesn't have a great feel for it. Is maybe the White Sox maybe the team that makes him throw it 30-40% of the time to make sure he's got it. Yeah. Then get him to the big leagues that he know he has in his back pocket when he's facing real hitters.
I'll tell you this, I chase. And the reason why I chase is because it's a low 3/4 slot that you don't see a lot of. It's short arm and there's a lot of deception there. And all of a sudden that ball is on you. He has a lot of swing and miss on the top part of the zone. And that, when you start looking up there and you see that slider go to your back foot, you start getting those awful swings. I would have been one of those guys getting that awful swing. This guy's absolutely nasty, and he's probably the first pitcher to get to the big league.
He's a couple interesting things. He's the youngest pitcher in this class from the college pitchers, not even 21 years old yet. He's also already had Tommy John.
Yeah,
his last 19. Year in high school. So maybe some of a plus and a minus on his profile is that concern. I'm with Kylie. If I'm drafting Hagen Smith, you're going to the minor leagues, you have to throw 25 changeups a game. I don't care what count, what side of the plate the hitter's on. If he gets a changeup, he will be in the top third of a major league rotation. I have no doubt about it.
All right, let's bring Jeff Passan in. Jeff.
Carl, at the top of this show, we talked about how the Major League Baseball draft and Major League Baseball this season are intertwined. When you look at what the Chicago White Sox just did in picking Hagen Smith, there is a chance that they're going to trade both Garrett Crochet and Eric Fetty, 2 of their starting pitchers in their Major League rotation right now, and they will be looking to get Major League bats or high prospect bats in return. By adding Hagen Smith to a minor league group that includes Noah Schultz and a number of other talented arms, what they're hoping to do is accelerate through the draft the process of bringing all these guys up together and having a young pitching core to go with those bats that they're going to get when they make those trades.
That's a great point.
What's interesting is Hagen Smith's path may be the same path that we saw with Garrett Crochet. I mean, one of the guys that Jeff was talking about right there, that's what they did. Big leagues reliever, turn him into a starter, gets better over the course of time. you can do that with Hagen Smith, and that's a comp that Kyle and I were both making with him right now. It's not crazy to think that if they want to push him, he's in the big league as soon as they want.
They did that with Chris Sale as well.
High school guy, after the Tommy John surgery a couple years later, 7 no-hitters, tying a Texas record. There have been 2 pitchers taken to the top 5 picks. Caglione may very well be next. I know he's going to be an outfielder, a first baseman, I should say, but he's another pitcher. Anything to glean from the way the first 5 have gone?
Yeah, I think everyone wants optionable starting pitching. That's why you see these guys move up the board. I think these GMs are making these picks to the point that Jeff made earlier.
We'll see if the well is dry, though, because we've lost Burns and we've lost Smith. What comes next?
Come the hitters.
It's the commissioner, the Kansas City Royals. Their pick is in, and he is set to announce the name.
With the 6th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Kansas City Royals select Jack Caglione, a 2-way player from the University of Florida. The St. Louis Cardinals have the next pick.
Well, they have the most exciting young player in baseball, not named Gunnar Henderson, and Bobby Witt Jr. It may not be long if it's bat and first base until we see this guy. And man, did he improve as a hitter this year, and he was great last year.
Yeah, if you're a casual fan watching this is the guy you've heard of. You're wondering why he's not going to go first. If this works, it's left-handed Aaron Judge. That's what it could be. The question, which we're going to talk about a lot here, his chase rate was close to 40%, depending on how you measure it. How quickly can he improve that? Is he going to be an outlier in power, an outlier in chase? Is he going to make the adjustment? Or is he going to be one of these guys that, like O'Neal Cruz, is the kind of guy that has unbelievable power, also chases some, it kind of moves the ceiling down some? Is this going to be a perennial all-star face of the league, or is he going to be a very good guy that has some Joey Gallo seasons in him? That's the reason he's at this pick. Otherwise, he would have gone first without that question.
Yeah, I just don't see the Joey Gallo in this guy after the improvements that he did from last year to this year. And you see all the home runs and the slugging. But what impresses me is, let's start with the foundation. He's anchored down with those 19s. The leg strength also he has. He's got it developed from pitching, and he uses his legs so well in the top part of the body. Excellent. He hits balls to all parts of the ballpark. You go away, you go in, he'll bring the hands. He's made adjustments in big moments in the SEC. He continued to do it. Yes, he can pitch. Will he pitch? And the reason I have this in here, it's a big maybe. But if he does, I think it's going to slow down the development of the offense. If he doesn't pitch, the offense is just going to accelerate, and Jack Caglione could be an improvement.
Yeah, so you said a left-handed Aaron Judge. How about we just go with Bryce Harper? It's that kind of dude factor, and I'm telling you, like, this dude's going to sell jerseys. He could be one of the most famous players in the world. He's hit the highest homer. He's hit the farthest homer. He's hit the fastest homer that we've seen in college baseball. He hit 420. He had 104 hits. He had a 30-game hit streak. He had a 9-game homer streak, and he's hit 30 home runs back-to-back seasons. Nobody in the history of the Southeastern Conference has ever done it. All that said, he does swing at a lot of pitches, and the only concern is, when the stuff gets better, does it turn into too much swing and miss? I don't think it does, because his contact rate is actually off the charts. And that's why I say Bryce Harper way more than I would say Joey Gallo.
Yeah, I don't think it's Joey Gallo either.
Yeah.
I think the bull case here is he cut his strikeout rate in half and didn't have to address the chase. The thing that teams have said to me is he's not going to pitch when we draft him. We're going to throw him in the deep end of the pool, high A, double A immediately, make him make the adjustment, and if he does it, he'll be in the big leagues in a year. And if he doesn't, then it'll take 2 or 3 years. It'll be like a normal path. He might be a normal guy with a lot of power. You can see from that graphic they just put up, there's a lot of chase. It's in all areas. Can he just reduce the whole thing a little bit? Is that the question? We'll see.
Yeah. Jack Caglione's never going to be a normal guy in this league. I'm telling you this right now.
Well, what he should be is a 2-way player. I mean, he has the ability, and in speaking with some other former executives, you get into an organization, do you even begin to just wonder on a backfield whether it's anxiety or inability to throw? Should we just sort of try just to see, is that your best? You throw 98 from the left side.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't look like most other people. I mean, Eddie just talked about it in the box, and the stuff doesn't look like most other people's stuff. So, is he drafted as a pitcher? No. He's drafted because of the bat. However, he can pitch. The slider's got to come along. That's the one. The changeup was close to elite this year. I mean, he made a huge jump with his changeup. Threw a lot more to right-handers than left-handers. But, man, that fastball could still run up there. This was in regionals where he was still pushing it up down at 97. Fastball velocity dipped his last 2 starts of the year, but we've seen him as high as 99. I'm not saying he's drafted here because of the pitchability component.
Right.
But it's not a bad thing to fall back on. I mean, right now, if I'm the Royals, pretty good year to pick 6.
I like the back pocket idea. I also think it's going to be fascinating in the next few years. Oakland takes Nick Kurtz. Kansas City now takes Caglione. I mean, there you go. You made a choice.
They're tied. And I think it's also really cool Kansas City has a chance to have 2 of the most exciting players.
100%.
I mean, that is a really neat thing for the middle of America.
All right, speaking of the middle of America, St. Louis on the clock. Rob Manfred coming out with the pick. Pretty much the names that we talked about in our Baseball Tonight show have all gone off the board. And here he comes.
With the 7th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the St. Louis Cardinals select J.J. Weatherholt, a shortstop from West Virginia University. The Los Angeles Angels have the next pick.
Now, what a great minute for that guy out of West Virginia, as he told us on our Baseball Tonight show. I had one choice. It was West Virginia. He's West Virginia through and through. He's a Cowboy tonight, and he is soon to be a St. Louis Cardinal.
Yeah, I think the takeaway here is he's gotten better at shortstop. I think everybody thought he was second or third base entering this season. Got a little better, shows a 55 arm. Here's the real thing for me, is he's not the sort of, he's 5'10", he's not the most physical guy, he's not the Cags, he doesn't have a 70 grade tool. He's literally above average at every single thing on the baseball field, which is a very important place to start. And sometimes these guys turn into Jose Ramirez, Altuve, Pedroia. Some of these guys do stuff like that. That's the sales pitch here, and I think he's almost a sure big leaguer.
Well, very cool moment, too, when you actually are physically in the building, and the building's got really very few seats, if any, to sit in. You get a standing ovation, and you get to walk through the crowd, put on that jersey and that cap, and welcome yourself to the next chapter of your baseball life. He's a dirt dog, too. I mean, he will get grimy and dirty, and he showed that to Sabins at West Virginia when he was out on a recruiting trail. I got to have that guy because of his instincts. And then, as you said, he does everything just a little bit better than the average guy in every category.
We talked about a college-heavy draft. No high school players yet.
Exactly.
It's been a very college-heavy draft.
He didn't have Division II offers. He didn't have any other Division I offers. It's West Virginia. First man he sees is Xavier Scruggs. Go ahead, X.
JJ, I want to say congratulations first and foremost. What did it feel like when you heard all these fans here screaming for you getting drafted and being in the building?
Yeah, man, it was awesome. I just want to give all glory and praise to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, man, and it's an unbelievable experience. So I'm blessed to be here, and you know the fans cheered for me, so I'm just super excited.
Talk to us a little bit about the player that the St. Louis Cardinals are getting right now.
They're getting a baller, man. I can do it all. I can do a little bit of everything, and you know I'm a learner, so I'm super excited to see what the Cardinals can do to make me a better player, and I'm just excited to be a Cardinal.
I know the family's here tonight. Obviously, it's not just your hard work, but a lot of support system around you. What does it feel like to have the support system here and behind your back all season long and throughout your life?
Yes, sir. It's unbelievable, man. I wouldn't be the person that I am today without the people that were around me and surrounded me, and especially the staff at West Virginia who made me the player I am today. It's just all thank you to them.
And JJ, how are you celebrating tonight? How you gonna have a good time?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna probably walk around Fort Worth and the stockyards, hang around with the family, just get in the Texas vibe. I got it going on now, so we got to keep it going.
JJ, that's great, man. Congratulations. Go do your thing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We got a little taste of J.J. Weatherholt earlier in the day. That's a kid comfortable in his own swing. He might not be the most scary hitter in the draft, but for my money, it's the prettiest swing. This dude's bat-to-ball move is as pretty as there is in this draft. Last year, he led the country in hitting. This year, got off to a slow start because of a hamstring injury, but still flashed big power and did this for the first time, which showed the ability to play shortstop. Had played second base his first 2 years on campus. This year he gets the chance to prove he can play on the left side of the infield and showed the athleticism to do it. Last year he stole 35 bases. It's a big-time run tool. Now, the concern about the hamstring is there because it happened last summer and again this year, but when he is right, He can run as well as anybody in this draft, and it shows up in games. You see the difference between last year and this year. I think the Cardinals are banking on, they're getting the hitter from last year with the potential to play shortstop from this year.
You know, versatility is a huge thing at the major league level now. They love guys that can move around, whether it's shortstop, third base, second base. He said he does everything really well. He also has that ability not to strike out. I mean, his strikeout rate was like 10%, if not a little less than that.
Crazy bat to ball, struck out only 50, or excuse me, struck out, where is it, only 82 times, walked 82 times in 3 years. So it's a dead even way, only 82 times in 3 years.
Yeah, I just think it's really impressive that he played the first 2 years at second base, moved over to short, showed the athleticism, and now Mason Wynn in that combination, whenever he gets to the big leagues, it's going to be elite.
Yeah, and I love the confidence of all the guys that we have seen so far. Get some more from Jess.
Yeah, well, when you think about the numbers, Berkey just broke them down. That was the best offensive season in West Virginia history that he had, 23. He talked about that hamstring injury, but how cool is it that he's able to battle back to get that first-round pick?
J.J. Weatherholtz. J.J. Weatherholtz, a special player. First-team All-American, pure hit tool, hits for power. As a program, you hope you get one of these every 20 years.
All right, I want to start with J.J. You're a Jonathan David. Where does J.J. come from?
Yeah, so growing up, my grandma used to call me John, and my family would too, but showed up to Pee Wee football the first day in Pittsburgh. We just moved. Coach asked my dad, hey, what's his name? He said, it's John. I'm not calling him that. So he started calling me J.J., and it just stuck ever since.
You know, your grandma, it seems like she's got a ton of influence.
Yeah.
Your name clearly comes from her, but her coming from that Korean background, growing up, her influence over you.
Yeah, she lived with us for a little bit, so that was always cool, but just learning about Korean culture and, you know, kind of like who I am, where she came from, what she had to go through to get here, and all that stuff. It was just really cool, and so it's definitely a part of me that I like to talk about, and I'm proud of.
If you have the rare week off or a few days off and you get away from the baseball field, what's your go-to? What do you want to do?
Got to go on the golf course. Got to try to find a fishing spot. But the thing is, you know, you don't get much time off. So it's like when I get that time off, I want to go to a spot that I know I'm going to catch a fish.
Some good fishing stories.
Best experience is probably the biggest bass I ever caught. I was, I don't know, 9 years old. I got a funny picture of it. Remember, it was pouring rain. My mom's calling us like, hey, you gotta go. It was with my buddy. I said, okay, hold on, last cast. That's like every worm that was left in the box. Put it on a hook, threw it out there. Caught the biggest fish of my life. Still have not beat it to this day.
Pretty amazing, too, when you think about it. Didn't get any Division I offers except the one. And Condon didn't have any either. Here's the commissioner.
With the 8th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Los Angeles Angels select Christian Moore, a second baseman from the University of Tennessee. The Pittsburgh Pirates have the next pick.
We got some Angel fans in the house tonight. Now, we certainly have perhaps even more Christian Moore fans. Talk about a guy that is easy to embrace and like. Christian Moore is that guy. He put on an absolute show in his career at Tennessee and shined on the biggest stage in Omaha.
Kept rising up boards through the spring, started maybe in the second or third round. Seemed like every couple weeks you're hearing he's a little bit higher. There was buzz he was going to go here or go 12. There's 30 home run potential, chance to be average to above defender at second base. We've seen the Angels take college players and promote them very quickly. The question here is it more of a 250, 240 hitter, or is it more of a 260, 270 hitter? Is he going to get to all 30 homers? That's the question. If it's 260, 270, gets to all the power, he might be in the big leagues next year.
Well, Kylie, we've now had a record 8 college players taken to start this 2024 draft. As he walks through the building here, Eduardo, he strikes me as a perfect Ron Washington, Eric Young guy, doesn't he?
100%. This is a guy that has the enthusiasm, he's got the leadership, and he believes in himself. And when I saw him here on stage, and I even saw him in Omaha on the big stage, it was about confidence. He had it the entire time. He's got that swag. And the one thing I told him is don't let it take it away from you. And I don't think it will. He has what it takes to get to the big leagues quickly with that swing.
I'll tell you this, too. I mean, what people talk about, like his approach on the field and what it is. whether there were questions about it. I want that approach.
Yes. Yeah.
His teammates want that approach. It plays fine.
All right, X, go ahead.
Christian, you hear Commissioner Manfred say your name, what immediately goes through the mind?
Wow. Like, you dreamed this as a kid, you know, growing up watching this event every year. And it's just a beautiful thing. You know, I just want to shout out my family, you know, they over there, down there, you know, coming all the way from New York. And a shout out, you know, to my teammates. And of course, the GOAT sitting over there, Tony Vitello. Much love to you. Thank you for everything.
Speaking of your coach and speaking of your teammates, it's been a special year for you, winning the College World Series and now getting to this point. What has this year meant to you in general?
It's meant everything. You know, it's been a crazy year. Like you said, winning Natty, now all this. Like I said, still trying to soak it all in and, you know, just enjoy the moment. But it's been crazy, man. Traveling all over, experiencing new things, meeting new people. But that's just part of the journey, man. I'm so blessed to be here.
And when you think back to all the moments that you've had, hardworking, determination, who are some of the influences that you've had in your life that have helped you get to this point?
Definitely, man. Like my parents, my brother, you know, he kind of started all this for me, you know, showing me the game. My parents showing me the game. So, like I said, a lot of kudos to them, you know, always keeping my head on straight and keeping me humble.
And lastly, what are you trying to show the Angels as far as what you can do out there on the field?
I'm a winner. I'm a competitor. So I don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of years, but I promise you, I'll get a ring for sure. It's in my blood.
Well, go out there and celebrate. Go do your thing, man.
Does the home run derby give out rings?
Yeah. Great answers for a guy that mashed the ball in Omaha. And you look now at the Volunteers in Rocky Top, the Tennessee position players drafted. Helton, Senzel, Moore, and you, Chris Burke.
Hey. Yeah, let's talk about Simo. He just got himself a college ring, and this was game one where he broke Eddie and all of Florida State's heart. How about hitting for the first cycle we've seen since the 50s? It started with the triple into right center field. And oh, by the way, he's facing a first rounder in next year's draft in Jamie Arnold. Triple to right center field. Then it's a double down the left field line on a slider at the bottom of the zone. So he's gone right center. He's gone down the left field line. I love this one, maybe the most. He punches the single into right field. Just an excuse me swing with 2 strikes. And then he gets to a 3-1 count in his 4th at bat. And he does something that I don't think anybody in the building thought was possible. Into a 20-mile-an-hour breeze. He hits a ball from 430 feet to dead center field at 117 miles an hour.
All right, the commissioner's back out. It's the Pirates pick.
With the 9th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Pittsburgh Pirates select Connor Griffin, a shortstop from Jackson Prep School in Flowood, Mississippi. The Washington Nationals have the next pick.
Connor Griffin has got as much tools, if you will, as any high schooler in the country. The Pirates off a year in which they got Skeens Go athlete now out of high school.
So I went and watched him this spring. I watched him pitch. He looked like Jack Flaherty. He's way better at hitting than being a pitcher. He's a top 50 pick as a pitcher. He's probably not going to pitch a pro ball at all. I think he's Fernando Tatis Jr. He's 6'4", 210, might be a double-plus runner with double-plus power, a double-plus arm. Might be a shortstop. If not, then it's center. If it's not center, you can stick him in right. He'll be good over there too. The question here, you can see that 45 on the hit tool. That's the question. Scouts think, and some data guys think, the video guys think, the swing's a little bit long. Most people think it is fixable, but spending this much money on a guy that you're not sure he's going to hit scares some teams off. This could be the face of the franchise perennial all-star if it hits. Could be a guy that is seen as a bust if he doesn't. It all hinges on that, in which case he'll probably go be a pitcher and is probably a big leaguer as a pitcher too. So you get to diversify your risk a little bit. It's a fascinating talent and an impressive young man.
All right, the Pirates are close. The Pirates are close, and they take a high school guy that has some questions. You tell me, Eduardo, as a Pirate fan tonight, how do you feel about what we just did?
I love it.
You love it.
Best high school bat, and the ceiling is really high. Look, I think right now, maybe I think the Boston Red Sox are going, oh, no, this is the guy we were looking at. There's a lot of teams that were dreaming about this kid. In 3 years, if he would have gone to college, this could have been the #1 pick in the country. That's how good he is. I think he will shorten up his swing. I think with experience and with repetition, this kid, the ceiling is better than any of the players that we've seen so far here today. That's why I think the Pirates understand what they've got here.
Pirates are making some news, man. They are absolutely a team to be reckoned with. We've seen it with Skeens. We've seen it with Brian Reynolds. And the Pittsburgh Pirates are all decked out in their war room. And when they were able to get the shortstop, outfielder, pitcher Connor Griffin, And Charrington and company are all celebrating. We're back here, and the Cowtown Coliseum's having a blast right now. A whole bunch of college players have been selected, and congratulations to the #1 overall pick, Travis Bazzano. The Washington Nationals, of course, that scouting department and the general manager, Mike Rizzo, they also have a good young crop of players coming. The commissioner set to announce the 10th pick.
With the 10th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Washington Nationals select Seaver King, a shortstop from Wake Forest. The Detroit Tigers have the next pick.
Hey, the other early story, these guys that did not have huge profiles out of high school have all been taken in the top 10. Here's another that was a Division II school.
He was at high school in Athens, Georgia, was not a name. I'm in Atlanta, did not hear this name. Played 2 years at Wingate, didn't hear his name. And then at this time last year, showed up at Team USA, was taking his visits, transfers, gets on the radar. The upside here, the physical upside, is outstanding. And there's plus tools all over the place, get a little bit raw, needs to be worked out a bit. But the story here, 3 Demon Deacons in the top 10.
He's not named just after Tom Seaver. He said, I think my parents thought I was going to be a girl, and I wasn't, so they had to pivot off that name.
Well, his mom, Callie, was actually the biggest influence in his life. In fact, that's where the MLB dreams started. He was in Houston, Chicago. They went all over to make sure that they were visiting ballparks, and he said because of that relationship, that's where it all began.
And here is one of those projected first-rounders, Seaver King. They talk about his bat speed, and the word that's thrown around is elite and legendary.
Comps, people talking about Mookie Betts. You know, do you watch Mookie at all? Is there anything about?
Yeah, funny enough, so I'm going to Maven right now, and we're kind of trying to do swing changes right now, and the person we're watching the most is Mookie Betts right now, trying to not necessarily recreate his move, but kind of feel what he does. And you know, I think he's a good person to look up to. You know, you see him carry himself every way, and he's played all the positions as well and does it at a high level.
Third base, shortstop, you know, multiple outfield positions. Where are you most comfortable?
Yeah, I think my heart and soul says shortstop. I just kind of being the loud, energetic person I am, I get to influence the game almost every pitch there. So that's kind of where I feel most comfortable and where I can be an athlete and be myself.
This ball is gone.
Number 5 is a special athlete.
Tell me about your mom, Callie, and how influential she's been.
You know, she's just been the one that's been with me through it all and took me all the practices and saw me at my worst. So she's just awesome, and she wants to enjoy the moment as much as I do. So she wishes she was here right now, but it's not the case. But you know, it's just having her in the stands at every game and just being able to see her and just kind of refocus my energy and just become, you know, soft and comfortable has been something I've been super thankful for.
What's something you want people to know about you?
Man, I think I'm always smiling. I want to have fun. I think it's just having fun is the #1 priority for me. And you know, whenever baseball is done and I'm done having fun, I'm okay with that. But until that day comes, I'm gonna play for as long as I can, as long as they'll let me, to be honest.
He put on about 20 pounds, and then he got into a 47-game hit streak while he was at Wingate, which was just a 7 shy of the Division II record held by Kevin Pillar. Now he's the 10th pick in the draft.
Yeah, and you can expect the numbers to go a little down from Wingate to Wake Forest. But what he showed was as loud a tool set as any infielder in this draft. So you're going to see him run around in center field. This is a true middle of the infield outfield. Watch him organize his feet right there and throw across his body. Spend a lot of time at third base. Plenty of arm, and the athleticism just jumps, even on a roll tape like this. So it's speed, it's athleticism, it's the hands to play in the middle of the field, the range to play in the outfield. And the exit velocity, that ball shouldn't go out. Right. That ball's at like 15 degrees, gets over the fence. 117 was his max exit velo. He only weighs 195 pounds. So it's a big-time athlete with a really high ceiling. Now, what's the knock? It's a little too much chase, and he hit 50% ground balls. But he can really run the bases. It's probably the best positional flexibility here with these top 10 dudes. And if he hits the ball in the air a little bit more, he could be damaged like Simo.
He's got to learn how to start lifting the ball to the pull side. I think that's where he struggled a little bit. You look at that spray chart right there. A lot of balls hit to the opposite field in the air. That's great early on. But the development stage will happen in the minor leagues where he'll learn how to catch that ball out front.
How's Wake Forest doing tonight?
That's 3 on the top 10. That works okay.
3 in the top 10 is right. So we now go 11 through 20 on our way to 30 here. The commissioners coming out. Next on the clock, the Detroit Tigers.
With the 11th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Detroit Tigers select Bryce Rayner, a shortstop from Harvard Westlake High School, North Hollywood, California. The Boston Red Sox have the next pick.
Well, it's easy to fall in love with this guy as far as you talk about athletes and the ability to play at the next level fairly rapidly, even though he's a high schooler.
Yeah, this is another guy just like Connor Griffin, up to 95 with 4 above average pitches, but he's not a pitcher. They drafted him as a hitter. 6'3", left-hand hitting shortstop with 30 homer potential. Sounds sort of like Corey Seager.
Yep.
I don't think he's quite as broad or strong, but he has that kind of upside. He's above average runner, got a plus arm. Again, I mentioned he's up to 96, 97 on the mound. The question here is he's 19. He's a little older than the other guys in this class. Last summer, it was just okay contact-wise. This spring, this is at NHSI, 200 scouts there, went off, faced a bunch of guys, 88 to 92, oppo, fly balls on all of them, a couple long doubles, one almost a home run. We see that there is pro-level stuff here. There's a little adjustment. I think his hips slide forward a little bit. Pulling and lifting the ball is not there yet, but it might be a short adjustment. Another guy that could move quickly.
Yeah, it's a silky smooth defender, too. Like you talked about the arm, he's a pitcher and a draftable pitcher at that. When you watch the actions, that to me is where you see more of a Seager than I do with the bat, because it's such a professional approach at such a young age. I think what's interesting, you talk about the development of the minor leagues, it's a scissor kick move where there is a little bit of a drift. Because of that, that's why most of his best balls are center to left center. He's going to have to learn to stay behind the ball and get the barrel out. When he does, he's got a chance to be a 25, 30 home run hitter and play shortstop, and it's a physical body that still has another jump left.
Good comp, though, Corey Seager in that national high school tournament. He stood out there. He went for like 7 for 13 with a pair of doubles, didn't strike out, and he had a couple of stolen bases. We'll take a break. The Red Sox next on the clock.
You're watching the 2024 MLB Draft, presented by Nike.
Building a new one. That's a nice guy.
We are back, phones out. Good crowd here at the Cowtown Coliseum. All-Star festivities next year will be in Atlanta. Of course, last year in Seattle. And Fort Worth, Texas, hosting the Red Sox now on the clock. And the commissioner is making his way to the stage. We'll find out who Boston selects.
With the 12th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Boston Red Sox select Braden Montgomery, an outfielder from Texas A&M. The San Francisco Giants have the next pick.
Well, he gets a huge round of ovation here, given that he just played for Texas A&M before he got hurt in the baseball postseason. There's a whole bunch of Red Sox fans here as well. He is, we found out on our Baseball Tonight show, and many knew before, a really, really easy guy to like, and of course started his career and started at Stanford.
Yeah, he's been a guy going back to his underclass years in high school at Mississippi. The question had always been, is the bat to ball and the chase going to improve enough that he can be an everyday guy? This year he shortened up his hands, improved in that area. His power jumped to 70 grade power, might be a 30-plus homer guy. Also has an 80 grade arm, up to 96, 97 on the mound. All kinds of tools. If he makes enough contact, this could be an all-star.
This is a complete athlete here.
Yeah, no, I think Braden Montgomery, it's a crazy high ceiling, maybe a little bit of a lower floor. That's why you're seeing him here outside of the top 10, because it's certainly a top 10 ceiling. It's the kind of guy that can hit 30 homers and play a world-class right field. As Kylie said, tools across the board. Here's the questions with Montgomery. Can he hit right-handed in pro ball? Because the right-handed numbers are way different shift into left-handed numbers. And then the swing and miss. He struck out almost 200 times in 3 years.
I think one of those questions, too, is should he hit right-handed when he gets into pro ball? And, you know, there's an advantage to switch hitting as long as it's advantageous when you're doing both. And it'll be interesting to see when it gets into pro ball whether or not they give him a chance early, and if it continues to have the same trend that it does now, just turn him loose left-handed and see what happens.
You know, he's been using a scooter to get around since he broke that ankle. He didn't use the scooter to get all the way up to the stage to shake the hand with the commissioner. Around Major League Baseball, one of the things you hear a lot right now, especially with the successful teams, the culture in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
That's a culture guy in a clubhouse.
You can check that box. I mean, we talked about it when he was up here. Like, I mean, the kid played in the College World Series the first 2 years at Stanford, but was a major part of Texas A&M's run. And aside from him being on a scooter, man, the look on his face, you'd have had no idea.
Now, he was an amazing inspiration while he could not play in that College World Series, of course, with Texas A&M that came up just short against Tennessee. Montgomery is here. He's the 12th pick. Next stop, the Red Sox. Before that, a chance to talk with Xavier Scruggs.
Braden, you're sitting back there thinking about the opportunity to be drafted. You hear the Boston Red Sox. What immediately goes through your mind?
Man, just happiness. I mean, I'm glad that they took me, and it's going to be awesome. I'll make the most of it.
Yeah, when you think about the things that have inspired you over the past few years to help you get to this point, whether it be the people, the work that you put in, what really comes to mind with all that?
I guess just the drive to want to be the greatest. I want to be the best in every room, and that's how I go to work each day, and so that's how I approach things. That's what wakes me up each morning.
There's obviously been adversity throughout the journey. You know, you played well, Texas A&M this year, end up getting hurt. Obviously, everybody's here is happy for you. A lot of supporters. For you, what have you learned most along your journey to help you get to this point?
Yeah, I've just kind of learned how to be the person I want to be and how I want to treat people, because that's ultimately the way that the people remember you. They're not going to remember how many homers I hit or how many times I strike out. So that's kind of what I've learned. I want to be a good teammate, be a good person.
Well, congratulations. Go do your thing, my man.
Thank you.
Guys, and that's one thing right there that Braden Montgomery has been able to do, be a good teammate. And being a good teammate is not only on the field, off the field, but in the box as well. As a left-handed hitter, he's got some serious elite bat speed. He gets through the zone quick. He stays back on it. He is way more developed from the left side than the right side. But what really I love here is the arm, right? He went in as a two-way player to college baseball at Stanford. He mainly played this position, and it was awesome. It was Andre Dawson, Ellis Valentine type of look. Guillen in right field. This guy has it all when it comes to playing defense, and the leadership is off the charts.
Ellis Valentine.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Wow, I didn't see that one either. We were coming with that tonight.
I get a Vlad Senior, maybe. I didn't see
way
Ellis
back
Valentine. Yeah, so I think the big adjustment here is he shortened his hands. You can see where his hands are right there. Most of the guys in this draft, their hands are 6, 8, 12 inches further back than that. He's keeping his hands closer to the ball and make more contact. You can see that rotational acceleration. That's where that 70 power comes from. I took that video when he was at South Carolina. I thought that he had shortened his hands just for BP. He hit like 5 balls out of the stadium at South Carolina. I would imagine it's going to fit okay in right field, both defensively and hitting the ball in Boston. But some teams told me they would drop the right-handed thing altogether.
All right, next up, 13th pick. Red Sox go 12. They take Montgomery. College theme continue. Here's the commissioner with a Giants selection.
With the 13th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the San Francisco Giants select James Tibbs III, an outfielder from Florida State. The Chicago Cubs have the next pick.
Florida State goes back to the College World Series, and of all the hitters there, this guy looked as professional as any of them. Polished beyond belief and had a tremendous run on the Cape during the summer last year.
I was just thinking when I was getting ready to do it, I was like, I'm going to say professional. And usually that's code for very polished and not the craziest upside. It's 25 homer upside, but he might hit 270 with a 360 on base, play an average right field, get there quickly. There's some questions. Maybe he'll have to platoon. How is he going to be against lefties? I've liked him since going back to Pope High School in the Atlanta area. Wanted $1 million. Some teams didn't want to do it because it's a smaller stature corner guy out of high school. Really developed this year and looks like he will be a quick to the big leagues guy.
Look, you talk about development. Development is huge when it comes to James Tibbs, right? I saw him as a freshman coming in, and then all of a sudden you look at the plate discipline that he was able to have behind the plate. Really good. He works counts well, understands how to be able to get the hitter's advantage, and you got to give a lot of credit to the program and the way Link Jarrett was able to develop him as soon as he got there. That's one thing that he said. You got to work the counts, get in your favor, and then attack 3-1 and do it to the long part of the ballpark. It's a short porch and right, but still, James Tibbs was able to use the entire field, use it well, and the one thing that he has is short arms, so he can get in there on pitches inside. I love the transition, and oh, by the way, to San Francisco Giants, Buster Posey has a lot to do with this as well.
Yeah, I think the thing you love about Tibbs, it's 20 more walks than K's. He's still swinging plenty. He's not up there to walk, but as Eddie said, elite plate discipline. The challenge with Tibbs, it's 800 point lower OPS versus lefties.
Look at the nitro zone. It's the entire strike zone.
Yeah, I think the only knock you would have on him is, can he develop left on left? If he can, he's got a chance to be an impact everyday right fielder in the big leagues.
Why is it so important to continue to switch it? I mean, I understand you're more valuable, but if you do something so well from one side, why do we worry about that?
Just facing lefties for Tibbs. Just facing lefties for Tibbs. The left on left for him. And it wasn't terrible. I mean, he hit 250, but he hit like 450 versus righties, right? It was the power more, the OPS more, that was significantly less. And you know, the lefties are only going to get better as you climb the ladder. So I think that's the big question mark with Tibbs.
And another interesting thing with San Francisco, and I think what they knew about him is his leadership skills. I mean, it is off the charts as well. And I think players, when they see that, and Buster Posey having a lot to do with Florida State, you get a lot of inside information. And I think it plays well with the Giants.
To that point, James Tibbs, already a graduate, 3.5 or 3.5 GPA, and this year's 2024 ACC Baseball Scholar Athlete of the Year.
Right.
So, I mean, we showed you all the baseball stuff, and that's really important. That stuff matters too,
no
and it definitely completes him.
Yes.
Doesn't hurt.
All right, almost halfway through round one. We'll take you through the entire round. Things that stand out. Guys that were not necessarily blue chippers coming out of high school, drafted early in the first round, and a whole bunch of college players and 2 pitchers. What else?
Bunch of college guys that went to big schools, performed on the big stage. I think we're seeing with NIL and the portal, the best players are gravitating to these handful of teams with all the resources. They're facing the best pitching, and when they get better, we can see it. SEC on some nights looks like low A. Sometimes in moments it looks like high A. It's much easier to translate that than going and getting a guy out of a middle tier conference.
Okay, so to that point, 11 of the first 13 college guys that were taken, Major League Baseball had the chance to draft these guys 3 years ago if they wanted to. They could have come out of high school. I think it also speaks to the development process in college baseball right now. And honestly, the way that professional baseball looks at college baseball, as you got a better chance to be right. These guys have a quicker run to get to the major leagues. We're seeing it. 4 guys last year are already in the big leagues. And I think it's an even better selling point for how good the college game is right now.
Yeah, I think the physicality too, like the weight room piece of this deal, like these guys are ready to handle the grind of a full season physically because of how much these programs have invested in their strength and conditioning program. Like that is a must on a college campus to get onto the field is you have to invest in the weight room. And you look at these players right here, like these dudes look like big leaguers in their uniform.
Yeah, we've done a whole bunch of stories on Alabama's football weight room. You go to Mississippi State, Tennessee, any of these places, you feel like you're in a better place than most major league facilities have. I mean, it is something you can't miss on, and it's not just the SEC. They're all caught up. We need good gyms, we need good cafeterias, we need good libraries. They need good weight rooms in college baseball, and they are getting it. All right, so one Florida State guy off the board, James Tibbs. We've seen a handful of Wake Forest guys, Tennessee. Number 14 selection will be the Chicago Cubs, and the commissioner is set to walk through the door.
With the 14th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Chicago Cubs select Cam Smith, a third baseman from Florida State. The Seattle Mariners have the next pick.
Now here's a guy that was like a top 100 prospect in 22 and said, I'm married to Florida State. Like, he's going to Florida State.
The question out of high school, he didn't face a ton of velocity, and he is a really big dude. He was playing shortstop. He's, what, 6'5", 225? He's a giant dude. He's now playing third. Third is a question, but he is really quick for his size. He can definitely play right field. He might play third. There is 30 home run potential here. The question is, he had a big, long swing, a lot of strikeouts as a freshman. As a sophomore, he severely cut down his swing, made a lot more contact. He'll have to go somewhere between those two. Is that Eduardo Perez?
That's him. Look at him.
What a body.
I also can't wait to see. Where's the graphic with Kyle's name on it? We checked body. We got Eduardo.
They're not getting me.
And I'll tell you this. You see that number 24? I inherited it. I gave it to him. I said, here, take number 24. And he ran with it, man. He's been so good, Berkey.
So that's why he rakes. Okay, we all know that. He's got that going for him. Let's talk about Cam Smith. It's as big as impact as anybody in this draft. So the 90 percentile exit velo 112, right there with Kaggs and Condon. Did most of his damage in the air to the backside. If you're getting ticky-tacky with the swing, the bat tends to get behind him. The barrel's in the zone early, but sometimes it's late. He's got mammo power to the backside, but the ground ball rate is immense, 52%, and most of that because the bat's behind him. Now, here's what's interesting with Cam Smith. Kylie talked about how big he is. Can he play third base? Similar to Condon, it is a big third baseman. Can he stick there? That's a question mark. And then the ground ball rate, only 16 home runs. Basically a juice ball era in college baseball. If he hits it in the air more, it's a 30 home run kind of impact.
Most outstanding prospect, Cape Cod League last summer. That's a big statement. And that was Cam Smith, most outstanding pro prospect in the Cape Cod League. Seattle on the clock when we come back.
Welcome back to the 2024 MLB Draft. Presented by Nike.
Seattle Mariners are on the clock as we continue now from the Cowtown Coliseum here in the Stockyard area of Fort Worth, Texas. It's been a fairly dominant SEC, ACC, with, of course, Bazana going number one.
With the 15th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Seattle Mariners select Jurangelo Cincha, a switch-handed pitcher from Mississippi State. The Miami Marlins have the next pick.
I'll tell you what, if you were going to get drafted, it was a good idea to come to the draft.
Yes.
Because all these guys are getting their names called. This is such a cool story. He pitches with both hands. Whether he continues that is the question, but he's done it so far.
So he gets to Mississippi State as a guy that can get over 90 both righty and lefty, but he's better righty. As a freshman, he'll run up to 95, 96. Right-handed is more of a matchup lower slot lefty type guy. Late this spring, I show up at the SEC tournament, a couple series before that. Scouts are walking up to me saying, hey, I saw Jurangelo a couple weeks ago. He's sitting 96 to 99 with 3+ pitches. Like, this is taking a jump. And I'm like, what do you think happened? They go, he stopped pitching lefty. I think that you just need to simplify it. Go from 4 pitches to 3, drop the lefty. It's a thing you could do later, like some of these two-way guys. It's a thing you could do later. It might be better that he doesn't do it. He's being drafted here as a right-handed pitcher. He just has the option to do some other stuff later if it happens to work out for him.
I think the one thing with St. John, too, is, like, obviously the right-handed stuff is better. The left-handed stuff isn't bad.
No.
I mean, I don't think it's anything that you immediately scrap, but as the season went on for Mississippi State, he started to do it less and less and less from the left-handed side because the right-handed stuff got more and more and more. We talked to him when he came up here during baseball tonight. This was a switch-hitting shortstop out of high school. He just happens to throw with both hands, too. He was a shortstop. He has pitched 140 innings total in college, draft-eligible sophomore. You want to talk about upside? Start focusing on only right-handed and pitching. There's a whole lot of upside.
And 140 innings, not only with one hand or one arm.
Right.
Yeah. We'll get Berkey's thoughts in a second. Here's X.
Jurangelo, you had an opportunity to hear your name called. Obviously, it takes a moment to soak in, but how exciting is this moment if you can put it in words?
I would definitely say only awesome, really excited, especially came in all the way from Curacao, and to be able to be in this moment right now is pretty awesome, especially doing my whole family is here, so it's more even excited, and even to like share this moment with them too.
That's amazing. For some of the people that don't know here, you throw with both the left and the right hand. Can you give a little little taste of how you got to throwing with both arms?
So my dad is a catcher, so I always like want to mock my dad and always like joke around with him, saying like I will be way better than him. And it's something like I always like forget my glove at home on purpose so I can use his glove so I can throw from the right side. And one time he just grabbed a ball, put like screw in the ball, let me throw the ball in the tire, and that helped me from the right side, and now I'm here.
That's amazing, man. Now, if Seattle gives you the opportunity to choose what you want to do, would you like to continue throwing both or pick one?
I will continue to do both.
Now, and last one for you, the biggest part of your journey that's helped develop you to get to this point. If you were able to talk to some kids and be able to tell them what's allowed you to get to this point today, what would that be?
Always believe in yourself and always put God first.
I love it, man. Congratulations. Go do your thing.
Yeah, thank you.
Remember, KP, you saw him and called his game at the Little League World Series in 2016.
Yeah, and he was doing this, and I remember they had to run him out a different glove at that point. Well, they don't have to do that anymore. The glove edge, it's got 2 thumb holes, 6 fingers. The fastball up to 99. Kylie talked about it, continued to get better as the season went on. And this is all from the right-hand side, which is primarily what we're going to show you. Slider's got a chance to be good over time. The changeup's actually a really good pitch, too. He just shouldn't throw it very often to right-handed hitters because he was more fastball slider to righties. I do think he starts to use the changeup a little bit more, especially when he's facing righties on the right-handed side. Here's a combination of the fastball and the changeup. You can see a changeup, high spin rate, but that axis from the side allows it to go down pretty good. I mean, listen, man, the guy threw 50 innings his freshman year at Mississippi State, had an 8.10 ERA. This year goes 90 2/3 with a 367, punches out 113 in those 90 2/3. What he did in 1 year, essentially the first year he was a pitcher, was a massive jump, and there's a chance it can continue to go.
Wow. Yes, the story there was the dad was a right-handed catcher. He threw lefty. We don't have left-handed catchers, so that's how he learned to throw righty.
It's pretty incredible when you think about what he's been able to do, but his name alone is a combination of his mom's name and his dad's name. So his mom, Julina, was the fastest softball player to come out of Curacao. His dad, as you mentioned, Michelangelo. So both of them combined together, both talent and in the name. Plus, 5 years old, he's been best friends with Ozzie Albies, who's also from Curacao.
We say this every year, like the most underrated part of starting pitchers is how good of athletes they are. This dude is a premium athlete. It's 3 real pitches. Think Marcus Stroman, think Clark Schmidt. It's a huge riser. And correct me if I'm wrong, the Mariners have had pretty good luck with college pitchers lately. Like the Mariners taking Senja, it's got a chance to be a home run.
They do pitch well in the Pacific Northwest, no doubt about it. So we go from Seattle, the next pitch, the Southeast, we go down to Miami, the Miami Marlins, and here comes the commissioner, Rob Manfred.
With the 16th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Miami Marlins select P.J. Morlando, an outfielder from Somerville High School, Somerville, South Carolina. The Milwaukee Brewers have the next pick.
So last summer, he won the MVP at the high school All-America game, and then he won the high school home run derby at T-Mobile Park. Pretty good fell swoop.
So as a high school freshman, high school sophomore, this was like the guy. Him, Connor Griffin, Bryce Rayner, these have all been the dudes for a long time. Coming into this spring, everyone thought Morlando would go basically right here where he went. The spring was not good. He got more spread out. The swing was not conducive to full power. It was more opposite field, ground ball, line drive. He started correcting that at the combine, was hitting missiles again. Now he's 19 on draft day. He's a right fielder. He's backed into a corner in terms of profile. This guy has performed for multiple years. If you throw the spring out, we've had guys like this. James Wood was a guy that had a bad spring, but still had the same tools. That's what happens sometimes when you can make an adjustment. He's aware the adjustment needs to be made. He already started making it. Can Miami tease a guy out here?
The family's home base was in Tampa Bay. The dad was in the Air Force, Jeff, for about 2 decades, so it's not far from Tampa to be on the other coast of Miami for him.
It's not, and this is a bit of a surprise pick, Carl. P.J. Morlando was expected to go toward the end of the first round, maybe down into the comp rounds, but Miami cut a deal on him, an underslot deal, to be able to spend more later. Now, we have to understand this strategy. The Marlins don't have a very good farm system, and so to go out and get a guy like Morlando Orlando and perhaps spend a little more of that money to get higher talent players, high school players later on, is something that Peter Bendix in his first year as general manager is going to be doing as they try and get back out of the basement of the National League East.
Good story about him, too. Because you grew up in Tampa Bay, his favorite player was Sam Fuld, who now runs the Phillies. But he would put on a cape. You know, Sam Fuld would be like Superman, diving for balls.
Yeah.
So when he was a kid, he'd wear a cape imitating Super Sam Fuld.
Yeah, it's an interesting pick. Similar to Weatherholt, I feel like the Marlins are banking on the hitter they saw last summer, more so than the hitter they saw this spring. I talked to Mark Kingston, the former head coach at South Carolina, which is where Orlando committed to, and he talks about the type of personality that could be the face of a franchise. Like, this kid will knock your socks off in an interview. It's a big personality. It's huge power. And like Kylie said, just because it wasn't a great spring doesn't mean he can't be the kind of guy that everybody projected him to be.
Yeah, there's a shot that it's 30 home run power, and like I said, this guy has been a guy that's been performing for a long time. He also did a thing that typically we associate with Riley Green, where he was seen as a corner-only guy, below-average runner. Then he started running average to a little above. Like, this guy has shown that he has the ability to perform multiple years, to then make an improvement. At the combine, again, he was making that adjustment to his swing. The rumors out of Miami where they were looking for 2 or 3 college hitters, they all went right ahead of them. So I think they had a couple primary spots, and then Orlando was the guy that made sense, and they can now move that money around.
That stuff's so fascinating because you do hear what the teams ahead of you might be doing or behind you, and you may want to intercept that. We just saw the Mariners, as you mentioned, Berkey, great at developing pitching, went for a pitcher. These next 2 teams, Milwaukee and Tampa Bay, really good at developing pitching. Does that have any insight into who they may choose?
Yes, but at this juncture, there's usually a couple surprises. This guy might have a bad medical for one team, not the other. This team doesn't like his makeup, his ability to improve as another. Durangelo is a guy where some teams really like the data. Other teams weren't sure that it was that good. Like, this is where the individual preferences of teams show up because it is not obvious who the best player is. It's this group of players, and every team takes one player out of that group and then moves the guy up. And I think a lot of teams have priorities like Miami did. They want to get these guys, and then they pivot to plan B and then move the money around. And a lot of these teams, we don't know what the priority was. We just know they kind of like these players, and then all of a sudden out of left field you see a surprise.
I think there's a lot of surprises right now. And I think these teams right now that are coming up next, Milwaukee, Tampa Bay, even the Mets are saying, wait a second, we did not expect some of these players to be off the board or to still be on the board, and now they have to make some serious decisions.
Tampa Bay's not a stranger to surprising us either here in the first round.
No, they're not.
You never know where they might go.
All right, they're after the Brewers, so the commissioner comes up to announce Milwaukee's pick.
With the 17th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Milwaukee Brewers select Braylon Payne, an outfielder from Lawrence E. Elkins High School, Missouri City, Texas. Texas boy. The Tampa Bay Rays have the next pick.
So we go back to the high school ranks, and we go with a high school outfielder, the Brewers.
This one is a big surprise. Payne was thought to go in the late 20s, 30s, maybe early 40s, right in that range, just like Orlando. I get the impression Milwaukee had a list of guys they wanted. Those guys went away. Now they're going to save some money with Payne, I would guess, and then have some money to move around later. But this is a legitimate first-round talent. It's a 70-grade runner, plus defender, plus bat, has some power. He fits in with a lot of these outfielders we've been talking about. He just goes to the front of that list when some people thought he'd go at the back of that list of 2 or 3 guys.
Right, and again, just a reminder for people at home, somebody like Payne maybe goes 35. Money is less at 35. Team comes to him and says, we can give you money. It's going to be more than you'd get at 35. Will you take it to join us, thus saving the Brewers money? They can then use it later?
Yeah, we'll give you the 30th slot if you thought you were going to go 35. We save a bunch of money. You get more than you thought. Everyone can move on. The agent can move on to his next player. The team can start making offers for other players that they're trying to get down the board. Here's the tool grades on Payne. As I said, double plus runner plus defender. And the hit tool is the one that really came on. Some teams are not completely convinced, but there's 5, 10 teams that are like, this guy may be one of the best contact hitters in the draft. Milwaukee, we've seen taking the Tyler back, the Sal Frelick. They don't mind taking a guy that's not the biggest guy, not the most power. If we get a combination of athlete, put it in play, and play defense, this guy fits that profile.
Interesting choice. When we come back, it's the Rays that are on the clock. We've seen surprises from them before. What will Tampa Bay do? Travis Bazzana, 2024 goes #1 overall to the Guardians, and we'll be back.
Welcome back to the 2024 MLB Draft, presented by Nike.
Make no mistake about it. Well, you're in Texas. Texas, a very, very good baseball state. We've seen a couple of kids that have been taken from Texas. You got sort of a list of best available still out there?
Yeah, we got a couple pitchers on there. Cam Caminiti, we thought was in the 11 to 15 range, maybe 18 to 20 at the latest. We're now getting into the latest. The suspicion then becomes, well, is he getting floated to somebody's second pick as a big offer come in? Trey Savage, another guy that we've been talking about for a while in this
We're
range.
getting to that high school shortstop range, too. Like there's a whole list of them.
With the 18th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Tampa Bay Rays select Theo Gillen, an outfielder from Westlake High School in Austin, Texas. The New York Mets have the next pick.
So there have been some injury concerns, but you mentioned, Texas high school kids again. At one point in his career, he was thought to maybe be the best bat coming out of high school.
Well, we said shortstops are about to go off the board. He played high school shortstop. A lot of people think he might move to second or center field. They announced him as an outfielder, so they're telling you what they see him as. He can really run. To me, today, this is the best high school bat in the draft. Like, if you're talking about hit tool, Theo Gillen is the best high school bat in the draft. Texas commit, and not shocking the Rays went for this one because it's a bat you can dream on.
Yeah, this is a guy that, again, a lot of people look at Bryce Rayner, maybe doesn't hit. Connor Griffin, even more concerned, doesn't hit. Theo Gillen, everyone's like, this guy's going to hit. My 55 is a little conservative. Some people throw 70s on that. But then you look at the power, it's a little more 15, 20 homers, second base, center field. He also hasn't really played the outfield before. We think he can play there. Some people think the arm might not even be a 40. We'll see. It could be a Johnny Damon type thing. I'm not worried about it. If this guy is a plus runner and a plus hitter, and he's a good athlete, and he can really hit, and he's got some pop, like, let's not try to complicate this too much. This guy's a really good player. And the last couple times, Tampa Bay might have surprised us a little bit. Carson Williams, Xavier Isaac, two of the top 50 prospects in baseball. They got a good track record taking high school guys.
Yes, they do.
You know what I love about this is Tampa Bay identified the athlete. They saw him playing shortstop. The best player in high school, where does he play? Plays in shortstop. But immediately they're like, look, you're an outfielder, and we're going to develop you as an outfielder. And that's one thing that Tampa Bay has done well internationally and also domestically.
The Caminiti is here. Unlike the NFL draft, where you have that guy that's supposed to be going in the top 10 and he just slides down, it's really important to make the case that these guys may be sliding down in order to get more money as opposed to being drafted in the first round.
You can usually look at the teams that we think saved money at their first pick, took some guys a little lower down the board. They got a lot of money left. They might have the hammer where they can say, hey, $4 or $5 million to get you to this pick, and they can move down whoever they want. We don't know that's what they're doing, but that could be happening.
Kyler was talking about it a minute ago when the Brewers made their pick. The difference between the Brewers' slot value at 17 at $4.5 million and that 30th slot value is about $1.6 million. And so that's where the moving around really comes in. It's one of, honestly, my favorite things about the Major League Draft. I don't know if I'd like it as much as a player all the time. But right now, it's one of my favorite things about the Major League Draft because this is where the chess game starts to come in more. And then how are you going to use it later? And some of those deals may already be cut.
So the Mets have the next pick. As guys that have been through this, does the city that a player is drafted in, eventually New York, big market, is that something that's considered early in this process? Can they handle that type of environment?
I have worked for the Yankees in the past, and they would say, we don't draft this kind of player. The ceiling's not high enough. He wouldn't actually play for us. Like, that becomes a factor. And then also, big personality, multi-sport guy. He's a former football quarterback. Oh, this guy can probably handle this. Like, it comes up. Sometimes it's a big factor. Sometimes it's just a thing you talk about.
I think it's more from the team side than the player side. I think, for the most part, players are tickled to death to be drafted by whoever. They don't spend a lot of energy thinking. They might have a feel through their agent who it might be, but there's not a high preference. But I think for the teams it really matters, and I think we've seen it with some of these college teams. The big name franchises want some of the big name college players because they played in such big stages with a lot of pressure. I mean, the pressure in college baseball, social media, it exists.
Are we past the point where you can get somebody who, if you were a potential playoff team this year and you dreamed on this guy could help us in September, are we past that in this draft?
Yeah, that's in the first 6 to 8 picks usually. Those guys are gone.
I can think of one. Okay, now he's got to throw more strikes. But Chris Cortez at Texas A&M's got stuff that you can put in the bullpen right now. It has to be thrown over the zone. We're not going to hear his name today. I don't think Chris Cortez is going in the first round. But if you want to find somebody that can, that's one.
Thanks for being the one. Commissioner coming out. Here's the Mets pick. They go 19.
With the 19th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the New York Mets select Carson Benj, an outfielder from Oklahoma State University. The Toronto Blue Jays have the next pick.
So there's a whole bunch of guys whose last names start with B. Burns, you got Benj, you got Brecht. They go with Benj here, a really good two-way player again.
Really like him. This is a guy, again, that has had Tommy John surgery, pitched in college, is a good pitcher. 3rd, 4th, 5th round kind of guy. As a hitter, you're watching the big leagues, kind of Colton Cowsery, might be able to play center, probably more of a right fielder. There's above average power, above average bat to ball, pretty good plate discipline. Some scouts think that there's a couple little adjustments with his stride angle and things where you can unlock even more, and when he puts away pitching, does he then take off? That's the theory here, is you might have an above average everyday guy.
Yeah, I think with Benj, you look at it, you can see it in the clip. He dives, and so he can get jammed, but he can also use the backside of the field. And it's big-time impact. Now, it's a ton of ground balls, too, so that's why you don't see the home run numbers. But he's a big-time athlete who can pitch in it.
Yeah, and you know the thing that stands out to me is his hard hit rate, right? That's one thing that he really does consistently well. And we're going to take a look at the video right here and see exactly how good he is with the wide stance. Consistency says it all for him. He puts that foot up and down immediately, and the bat gets through the zone really cool. Now, he also does not pull the ball as much right now, but he has great power to all parts of the ballpark. And I love this as a young player. I remember seeing Christian Yelich when I was coaching with the Marlins, and I said, wow, when I saw his video here, I saw Christian Yelich as well. You could see the glimpse, a guy that understood that he could still learn how to pull the baseball. There's a lot left in Carson Benj, and the Mets have some work to do with this kid, but the talent is all there.
And that comp is how lean he is. Like, this is a college player that you still feel like has another. We talked about the weight room earlier. Benj still looks like he's got 15, like Braden Taylor last year. Still looks like he's got another 10 or 15 pounds to put on.
Looks like Sean Green used to look like.
That's exactly right.
That's a good. The other thing about Benj, and Kylie talked about it, like he was a big part of that pitching staff. And for the most part, it was back end of the bullpen this year. They moved him into a starting role late. The fastball doesn't play great. I mean, its average is 93. It's not bad, but it doesn't play great. The off-speed stuff does play great. And so if you run into a situation where you got to put him on the mound, he potentially can be a bullpen guy down the road. You're definitely not going to try it now. I mean, I think it's hit right now. But he was a pretty effective pitcher at the collegiate level, at a very high level.
How willing would an organization, the Mets in this case, be willing to even think about pitching?
I think in the case with Connor Griffin, with Cags, with Benj, it is a nice thing to have. We saw it with Bryce Eldridge in last year's draft. That guy was a second rounder as a pitcher. And like, he's going to hit. He's hitting while he's probably a big league hitter. And if it all falls apart, then we got something to do with him to go put him back on the mound. That's how most of these guys will approach it. It'll be at least 2 years before you think about it.
Sorry, Kylie. Interesting note on Benj. One of the numbers that teams like to look at in zone whiff. Like how much do you swing and miss in the strike zone? His is as low as any of these hitters. It's right there with Caglione, only 9% of the time. Average is 13, so it's a high bat-to-ball rate. He's walked a ton. He has chased enough to where he's punched out some, but I think you look at that in-zone whiff and you say, man, if we can elevate the ball, get him to stay behind it a little better, like his home run days might be in front of him.
And the theory from teams is in-zone whiff is the thing you cannot teach. We saw that graphic that went up earlier. He's got a lot of plate coverage. His nitro punish zone is the whole strike zone, and we think there's a little more to unlock in terms of power and getting the direction just right. He's already showing you the stuff you can't teach. We can teach the other stuff. That's the theory.
That's the hope.
All right, the Blue Jays are on the clock. They had high hopes this season. They're reportedly being asked about Guerrero, Bichette, etc., we've seen other organizations realize it's not going to happen now. We may have to move a couple of guys. You mentioned Crochet with the White Sox. Where would the Blue Jays be given what's happened this season and the impact it has on tonight's decision, if at all?
There's three ways of looking at it. One is to ignore it and just take the guy you like the best. The second would be we're going into a rebuild. Let's take a high school guy. It's going to take a while because that's going to match up with when we're going to be good again. Or it could be we need to figure out a way to be good next year. Let's take a college guy that's going to move quickly. I have heard all three of those kinds of guys being considered at this pick, and it is very contingent on who gets here. So now we don't know who the pick's going to be, but we've seen a couple teams pivot on what we thought they were going to do because the guys they liked didn't get there. It's very interesting to see how they handle this. In the same way Kansas City, were they going to do a different thing because of how good the team is this year?
All right, look towards the stage. Here comes the commissioner again with the Blue Jays pick.
With the 20th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Toronto Blue Jays select Trey Yesavage, a right-handed pitcher from East Carolina University. The Minnesota Twins have the next pick.
So if we had four big pitchers, I mean, Yesavage was one of the four.
Yes, Burns and Smith were consensus 1 and 2. Yesavage, I think, finished a little bit question marks because of the lung issue. That last start, the velo was down a little bit. Some people had Sanger moving over him, which is what happened. And so now I think Yesavage, this is now even further than people thought he would fall. I think this is a coup for Toronto. Yeah. The theory is that you're going to get at least a Michael Wacha, an above-average stuff for starter that can do some stuff for you. Can they tease out a little bit more? That's the question.
I mean, from a draft-eligible the collegiate guys, he was either 3 or 4 this year, depending on who you talk to. So if you're Toronto getting him at 20, you feel pretty good. For Yesavage, it's a fastball into the low 90s. He didn't have a start his freshman year, and then primarily all starts the next two. Look at release point, and I think this is really important. Hagen Smith is about 5 feet 5 inches. Yesavage is like 6'8", 6'9". It's a massive difference, the angle that everything's coming to home plate. The splitter got added a few years ago. Austin Knight's the pitching coach at East Carolina. And because of this arm angle, went to Yesavage and said, they're going to do this when you get into pro ball. Why don't we do it now? Let's get out in front of it. The slider definitely plays. The fastball plays. But the splitter is kind of the separator for me. That gives him 3 real pitches. And I think from that high arm slot, the reality is there's not as many of those guys anymore. Yeah. I mean, Moore is the lower 3/4. They're going to drop down a little bit. Trey Yesavage gives you a little bit different look and a very good collegiate track record the last 2 years.
It reminds me of Dan Herron, that high release, straight downhill, and the split pairs perfectly with that release point. Kylie said it, like, we need to get better next year. This is a guy that is going to be a quick mover. He's as polished as any of them. It just might not be as loud and as high a ceiling, but he got a chance to be in a big league rotation.
And the polish came quick because he was playing football until he was about 14. Then he went to a baseball camp and he started throwing darts, and he decided baseball just was a good idea.
Yeah, I think he made the right decision. When you think about his background, too, he's from another small town, Boyertown, Pennsylvania, population 4,000. Spent a lot of time on his grandma's farm, 100 acres, four-wheeling. It's where he learned baseball, old bat, tennis ball. Let's get to know a little bit more about Trey Yesavage.
On the mound, they've got their ace, Trey Yesavage, taking the hill. The stuff is outstanding. Strikeouts, if you want it, you're going to get them.
Describe to me, like, why baseball kind of stood out the most to you.
I actually grew up liking football the most, but I know I had the best potential or the greatest potential in baseball. And after my freshman year of high school, I told my mom I wanted to potentially play college baseball, and took me to a little showcase. First time I was ever on a radar gun, and it all took off from there.
If you were to go back and talk to, like, the high school version of you, like 9th grade, 10th grade, and be like, hey, like, you've got a chance to get your name called draft day, what would you have thought?
I wouldn't have believed you. I really wouldn't. Like, I never thought I'd be in this position, in this seat, but I'm very thankful that I'm here.
Can we talk a little bit about your splitter and just, like, how you learned it, like how much you own that pitch and how that evolvement came about?
So I started throwing it 2 years ago, just something my pitching coach recommended, and started throwing it. The grip has changed 3 times, I believe, but this year I found the grip that was right for me, and it feels comfortable to throw, and I love throwing it in 2 strike counts and seeing guys swing and miss on it.
We talked about growth as a player, but probably your biggest growth mentally, everything that you've done over the last 3 years.
I would just say having the conviction and confidence to trust myself on the mound. And it's really paid dividends for me, knowing that I can go out there and be one of the best pitchers in the country.
Well, Trey told me you can kind of look at the evolution of his mentality through just his walk-up songs. He started his freshman year with some country, fun, shoot from the hip. It's one of his favorite songs. And then his walk-up song last year, Sad But True by Metallica. KP, I mean, he went from some fun, kind of enjoying himself, and he talked about how he was lethal just shooting down hitters.
Well, yeah, maybe it's time to go back to the country right now, too, given what our setting is right here. I think, and we talked plenty about you, Savage, as we were going through it. Berkey talked about it just a minute ago. Once you get past, I think, Smith and Burns, and you can argue about St. John, you can argue about Savage, but the reality is Savage is probably more polished right now than St. John is. Stuff may be a little bit different, but he's definitely more polished. He may have the ability to move through a system pretty well. And he has started at a very high level for 2 straight years. I think you got to be thrilled at this spot to get it.
Yeah, and also these kinds of guys in free agency, a 4th starter, if you're not excited about that, they make $15 million a year. That's saving some real money.
You need 4 starter.
Yeah. Everybody wants optionable starting pitching. That's what he's going to be in short order.
He can have a huge music collection, too, with that money, if he wants to. Huge music collection.
Vinyl, yeah, CDs,
all of it.
tapes.
Here's the Commissioner Twins' next pick.
With the 21st pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Minnesota Twins select Kalen Culpepper, a shortstop from Kansas State. The Baltimore Orioles have the next pick.
See the emotion on his face. Great note on Culpepper. Team USA 2023. Team had Caglione, Weatherholt, Montgomery. Culpepper led that team in batting average, on-base percentage, and slugging. Led that team.
So scouts look at this guy, they see a big arm, and they see sort of an average-ish runner, and they immediately think third base. You then go a little deeper, you look at the numbers, you pay more attention. He looks like a shortstop, and he's got great bats of ball, puts the ball in play, has some exit velo, but the theory is because of his in-zone miss, which is very low, and because of his sweet spot percentage, hitting the ball 10 to 30 degrees, a lot of teams look at those sorts of things to predict who's going to get to the most of their power, who's going to get to all 15 of those home runs to get a hit. The theory is that's this guy. It doesn't seem like the sexiest, highest upside, but he overperforms what you see on the field when you look at the data. That's the case here.
And that's a beautiful sight right there.
Yeah.
This is a kid that got recruited out of Memphis, and we've talked about kids that were overlooked. He did not have many options. Credit to Kansas State. They saw him play. He was a switch hitter in high school. They were like, no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to bat right-handed. And if you listen to us, we think we can develop the bat. And started out at third base, and now he's playing shortstop, and now he's a first-round pick. And, you know, Carl, you've done a nice job of kind of detailing that throughout the night. Just another one of these stories of guys just hanging in there and developing and now being first-round picks.
You know what's really cool about this is he is not afraid as a player to hit with 2 strikes. He works the count. He's not afraid to get jammed. And I think as he progresses through the minor leagues on his route to the major leagues, he's going to understand how to be able to attack early and still be able to protect with 2. I love the at-bat that he had in Game 1 of the Supers against UVA. At one point, he was a little frustrated, waggling the bat a little bit. All of a sudden, he comes back in the 8th inning, and it's a completely different at-bat. Making the adjustment, working the count, then taking it the other way for a big hit.
I don't think the Arkansas Razorbacks like him too much either.
The whole regional didn't like him. I mean, he hit for the cycle in the first game of the regional, and then against Arkansas, he goes deep off of Hagen Smith, who only gave up 4 all year.
X, we saw a lot of emotion.
Yeah, Kalen, let's talk about some of that emotion that we got to see backstage a little bit, the emotion that you're making us feel right now, too. What's those emotions feel like?
I mean, when you look back at the journey that I've been through, I mean, all those hard times, all the adversity that I've been through, it just means so much. This is the result of it right here. I mean, all my family back there, you know, they all understand how hard I worked and just what it took to get here and all that. I'm just really happy and it's full of excitement right now.
That's amazing, man. I think obviously you're hearing the support here. A lot of people understand what that feels like. What have you learned most from that adversity that you're talking about?
I mean, just being myself, staying confident to who I am, remember where I came from. I thank my family for that. They did a wonderful job of, raising, me and my other two siblings, and I just take pride into that, and I'm just so happy to be here right now.
And for you, what are some of the skills that you're looking to show the Minnesota Twins when you get that opportunity to first go out there and do it for them?
Well, I can do everything. I can do everything on the field. You're going to get a dog out of me, and I'm just ready to go. I'm ready to start my journey.
And how are we celebrating tonight?
I don't know. We'll see. I'll talk to the family about that one.
Congratulations. Go celebrate, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Beautiful. Beautiful raw emotion. Let's take a look at the game. The game of Culpepper we talked about kind of came out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden Team USA blew up and became a big-time prospect. Played shortstop after going to third base, and it's one of the best arms. Watch him turn this double play. That ball's hit slowly, but that's the arm that can finish off double plays. The bat has emerged. It's almost as many walks as Ks. Here's an Oppo homer off Hagen Smith. You might have heard of him. And then the emotion, right? This is a guy that led Kansas State, who have been struggling to even make the postseason to a super regional, almost to Omaha. It's a bat that's good enough to play at third, but I think if you can stick in the middle, you got yourself a real big leaguer.
At this time last year, I was joining all the scouts watching Collegiate Team USA. Two best guys on that team, Seaver King, Kalen Culpepper, rotating at shortstop. Now they both come off the board. And also, let me just say, the last 3-4 minutes, let's put out a hell yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah. You know what's really cool about this? We've seen a lot of collegiate players come through this first round. But how many minorities have we had playing college baseball? Drafted in the first round, and many more coming to get drafted. Look, guys, the reality is simple here. College baseball has done a great job of being able to identify, recruit these minority players, and they're starting to show up at Division I baseball, something that was lacking for a long time. The fruits of the labor are showing up. I applaud college
and the
baseball.
Major League Baseball. Major League put a huge emphasis on that. There's the commissioner with the Orioles, 22.
With the 22nd pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Baltimore Orioles select Vance Honeycutt, an outfielder from the University of North Carolina. The Los Angeles Dodgers have the next pick.
Well, you're talking about the postseason. Vance Honeycutt did everything to carry Carolina to Omaha. And I think the way it's described, this is the biggest feast or famine type guy in the draft.
If you're watching this as a casual fan, you may not know this. This is the most notable pick in the first round because A, Honeycutt is the most polarizing player in the first round. B, I ran this name by a couple teams picking in this range, and I go, you think Baltimore would take him? And they'd say, oh, don't let Baltimore get him. They're going to figure it out. They're going to figure out how to make this guy good. I don't want to let Baltimore have him. The other teams are quaking in their boots right now. Here's the sales pitch. Teams that don't like Honeycutt think he might be like a 230 hitter that will never hit for average, but they still thought about him in the first round because he might hit 15, 20 homers, steal 30 bags, and is an 80 grade defender. He might win Gold Gloves in a year or two. That might be Christian Pache. That might be Mike Cameron. There's all kinds of different tiers of this. Baltimore, this has worked out for them before. They've taken guys like this and figured it out. He is a big leaguer. Is he going to be a big league caliber hitter or just a runner and defender that puts the ball in play? Could be an all-star. We'll see. There's like a wide range of possibilities.
He found the hit tool in the postseason, and he figured it out then.
He definitely has a clutch gene. If you love him, he's George Springer. Like, that's what he can be. It's a high-end, high-octane athlete that loves the moment.
Field bases.
He can do everything on a baseball field. The fear, it's the highest K rate in the history of college baseball to go in the first round. He struck out 224 times in 3 years. I said Weatherholt struck out 82. Like, that's your – so there's a lot of swing and miss, but it's also a ton of damage with world-class center field.
Yeah, world-class center field is right, but he has a total package, right? A lot of home runs, a lot of stolen bases, dynamic when it comes to being able to play this game, and in big moments, this guy came through. Yes, it was against Florida State again. The power shows up, and yes, it was in the College World Series. I'll admit it, but it's the big moments that he's able to do it. When you need the power, when you need the clutch gene, he has had it. When it comes to stealing bases, he also does that really well. He's done it since he got into UNC. He can steal second, he can steal third. He's got a really good grasp for it. And anywhere around the wall, if it's in, if it's back, he makes a dynamic play, clutch gene defensively as well. Vance Honeycutt, man, you're right, Kylie. If the Orioles figure it out, he's a dynamic player.
It's like the College World Series all over again. We had 8 teams, 4 from each of those 2 conferences. They're doing it again here on draft night. Honeycutt accounted for 38% of Carolina's runs in the postseason. Too bad the Dodgers didn't have one of their early picks, given the injuries they have. Maybe Burns or Smith could have helped them this year, but they don't. They don't pick until now. The Dodgers on the clock at number 23. Apparently the front office has made their selection, and that means the commissioner's coming back out.
With the 23rd pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Los Angeles Dodgers select Kellen Lindsey, a shortstop from Hardy High School, Wauchula, Florida. The Atlanta Braves have the next pick.
Tremendous athlete, quarterback, defensive back, and obviously a hell of a baseball player.
So the funny thing here is that we talked about Baltimore. If they get Honeycutt, all the teams are scared they're going to figure it out. Lindsey is a guy that has faced 90-plus like a handful of times in his whole life. I asked him, he's like, I've seen it a lot. He's like, like 4 or 5 times. And teams were like, we're not sure he's going to hit. We haven't seen it enough. And now they're like, the Dodgers are getting, oh no, the Dodgers like him. We're scared now. So if you watch him play defense, just watch him move around, walk around, swing, it looks like Trey Turner. He's an 80-grade runner. He's a fantastic athlete. He can play short. The swing is a little bit rough relative to these other guys we're talking about. It needs a little bit of work, but all the stuff that you can't fix, he doesn't have any of that stuff. It's just a little rough. I went to go see him specifically in Florida because I heard he was going to go real high. The swing is fine. The components are here. You can work with it. It's natural at shortstop. It's a great kid. He's very coachable. The new age stuff we're talking about now with the force plates, the explosive athleticism and stuff you can't see, he's one of the best in the whole class. So the Dodgers here see a premium ball of clay that does all the stuff you can't teach. They think they can teach him the rest.
It actually, the swing is fine. He does not get loaded almost at all, right? You can see just kind of that drift and the hands really narrow. And again, the Dodgers are as great as anybody at working with swings. If this kid learns how to separate and actually get behind the ball, like the rest of it's there, because it's, probably the best of the athletes in this shortstop group from a running standpoint. The question is, can he add impact with the bat?
I'm not worried about his offense because he'll have time for that, right? That'll come. The separation, everything will come. What I love to see, though, in that video of him fielding the baseball was the way he funneled it. And for a fast runner to be able to have that footwork in the middle of the part of the infield and that control, funneling the baseball and separating the baseball from the side, that's really impressive at that age.
I think a lot of scouts went in and saw him this year, and they thought it was just the guy that put the ball in play that ran real fast. And then the more they sort of drilled down, they're like, oh, this guy's going to go in the first 30 picks. Like, everything's impressive here. And again, the things we can fix about swing mechanics or whatever, I talked to one team, the sort of swing guru, and they were like, just stick him in the cage, turn it up to 100, leave him in there for a month, he'll figure it out. They just kind of fix themselves after. Well, don't hit him with the ball.
At least feed him.
Yeah. They'll swing at the pitches throwing 100. Yeah.
He comes from a family of Florida Gators. Is there any decision still for somebody that gets picked in the first round between college or the money? You
not here.
Pros.
I went to Wauchula. It feels like you're in a swamp. It is really heavy humidity. But
they develop. They're really good players.
Did you see his reaction? His reaction would indicate he's going to be a Dodger.
We're going to Dodger land.
I think, these college recruiting classes, you put them together, and the top ones, there's a chance that if you're right, you're probably going to lose a few. I got to think Kevin O'Sullivan in this one, as the season went on, he's probably not going to be a Gator. Given that reaction, I think that's probably going to hold.
And Sully's got some NIL money, but he doesn't have $3.68 million.
No. that may empty the tank.
I think he's gone.
He would have had Xavier Isaac if he had that kind of money.
We talk all the time about athletes, and this is another one of those multi-sport athletes. So you got these guys still left. Caminiti's the one guy that's still in the room tonight. Everyone else from that room have had their name called. So Brody Brecht is a sort of a sleeper pitcher out of Iowa, I think.
Caminiti is the one guy we didn't think had a chance to get here. I know San Diego loves him. If he gets to 25, they're going to pick him. I think Atlanta's on him too. I think this might be one of those overslot, let's get him down to our pick kind of guys. He's the guy that has the impact potential here. You then look at Brody Brecht, Walshman, some of these other guys. There's some warts. Some teams have different opinions. Caminiti, every team likes this guy. He's going to go off the next couple picks. I'll be curious to see what the bonus is going to be.
I would tell you this. If you saw Brody Brecht on certain days,
Yeah.
Brody Brecht would have gone in the top 5 picks. I mean, the stuff is that good. The consistency wasn't. But again, like St. Jim, he's only played baseball full-time for 2 years. He's only pitched full-time for 2 years. He was a football player before that. Now you got to clean a lot up. He does not throw enough strikes. But he throws 101. It's a swing and miss slider. And if you get it right, may end up being pretty good.
If you're watching baseball and you know the Braves, and there are some of those names we just showed, Atlanta's going to take a picture. And that's how they work. Then they become great. Let's see.
With the 24th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Atlanta Braves select Cam Caminiti, a left-handed pitcher from Saguaro High School in Scottsdale, Arizona. The San Diego Padres have the next pick.
As my buddy once said when he was fortunate enough to fly in a private jet, it just feels right. This just feels right.
Like having a giant mitt and hitting 90 at 15 years old. So we talked about the Orioles. Teams are scared they get Honeycutt in their hands. We talk about Lindsey. Teams are scared the Dodgers got him on their hands. I feel like the meme, they can't keep getting away with this. How do the Braves keep getting guys that aren't supposed to be there? Again, I'm interested to see what the bonus is. Did he get here on talent? Did he get floated down here? I don't know. He shouldn't be here. This shouldn't be happening. He's also a 3rd or 4th round talent as an outfielder, and nobody talks about that. He's an unbelievable athlete, has all the components you're looking for, and if you want to ding a little bit, it's the breaking ball isn't consistently above average. He's 17. It probably shouldn't be. That'd be absurd if he could do that too.
Carl, he's waited his entire life for this moment.
The entire life of 17 years. And by the way, emotion, tears. He told us he was throwing 94, 98 at 14.
90.
Was he alive
90.
when this song came out?
Yeah.
90 at 14.
Does he know about Usher?
His hands are the size of Shrek's.
Yes, we actually saw photographic proof of that earlier tonight. Yours are not. I think the one thing with Caminiti, it is really clean to home plate.
Yeah.
When you look at a 17-year-old left-handed move to home plate, I mean, stuff is stuff, and you got to have it if you're going to be picked here. But, man, if you look like that going to home plate at 17, when, honestly, you should have just finished your junior year in high school, he reclassified. He's supposed to be going into his senior year. I agree with you guys. Like, the Braves got to be laughing right now that they got this dude.
Well, he talked to us on Baseball Tonight. Where do you hear how composed this guy is? Xavier?
17 years old. What does it feel like to be the 1st round pick of the Atlanta Braves?
Man, I'm so excited. It's incredible. It's an incredible organization. I'm just so excited to be here tonight.
What are some of the things that you feel like have helped you develop to get into this point today? Whether it be skills, whether it be things that are mental, what's got you here?
Mental training and physical training, getting in the weight room, being consistent, and just chasing your dreams hard as you can, getting 1% better every single day.
Talk to us a little bit about the nerves, maybe sitting back there. You were the last one that's here that was picked. How does it feel now to have that opportunity?
Feels incredible. I was a little nervous, but now I'm just so excited to be on to the next step in the journey, and I couldn't be more excited.
We'll see you in Atlanta soon, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We see him in 2 years, he'll be 19. 3 years, he'll be 20. I mean, that's it. That's where we're at. He is the cousin, of course, of Ken Caminiti. So he gets to go to the Atlanta Braves, the pitching development factory.
And just another reminder, he is 17.
Yeah.
17 years old when you watch this move. I mean, he hit all the, and Kylie talked about it too. I think athleticism is one of the things that jumps through the roof because he's a big-time center fielder. Fastball's got carry, plenty of carry. We talked about how he started watching Rapsodo 3-4 years ago and figured that out. Kylie, I would agree. I think curveball and slider are fine at the high school level. It needs to get better. I think the changeup's got a chance to be really good and already
It's the best of the 3 right now.
When you look at off-speed pitches, the changeup is the one that can play. You can teach a lot of guys spin when they get into pro ball, especially when you force them to do it a lot more. For a lot of these kids, they don't have to spin it that much.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not required to do it to win because the stuff is very good. He will be required to do it at the next level. But the fastball changeup combination today is outstanding.
There's a saying in the scouting world that that's what they look like. Like, that's what a left-handed pitcher looks like. The fact that he's here is remarkable. I think the athlete piece we talked about with Sanger carries here with Caminiti just because of how many strikes you're seeing at such a young age.
Yeah.
This is video from when I saw him in the Atlanta area last summer. You want to feel old? I met him last summer when he was 16. They were playing Usher. Yeah, when that song wasn't out, he was not alive when that song came out. He doesn't know the A-Town stop. He's got that spike grip. He's got the slider. Again, we're saying he's got the elements. There may not be a true plus quality right now, but again, he's 17. There shouldn't be plus quality. That means there'd be nowhere to go. There's a chance everything is plus, that you get a Cole Hamels, you get something like that's what these guys look at this age. Often they get drafted at 18, 19, 21. This is what they look like at this age. You look at these grades, these are conservative. The change could easily be one notch better. The command could be a notch better. Some days the slider is a 55 or a 60. I've seen it be 55 before. We're being conservative to not make you think this guy's going to be in the big leagues next year, but he could move very quickly. He's got all the qualities to move quickly.
It's also rare that a team has signed up so many of its players for the next 28 years. He's got a real chance to play with Austin Riley and the center fielder Harris. Like, these guys are signed up for a long time. He's there in 2 years. He already knows who his teammates are going to be in Atlanta. Padres next up.
With the 25th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the San Diego Padres select Cash Mayfield, a left-handed pitcher from Elk City High School in Elk City, Oklahoma. The New York Yankees have the next pick.
Like the Braves, the Padres can develop pitching. Ruben Niebla is one of the greatest that we have at the major league level, so they go with a lefty out of Oklahoma.
Specifically left-handed high school pitching, Mackenzie Gore, Ryan Weathers, all these guys get there. So while we were talking about Caminiti, he was hitting 90 when he was 14, was a guy we knew for a long time, and he reclassed. Mayfield didn't throw last summer, only faced low level of competition in Oklahoma this spring. There is the chance for plus command, a plus changeup. He's been up to 98 this spring. The curveball is average, sometimes a little better. We'll see how it goes. That's the question right now. But this, I mean, just look at this. There's a little bit of a wrist wrap on the back. That might help the breaking ball if he can get rid of that. Although he had a lot of teams interested even with it. I think this guy has a chance again. We're talking about those Cole Hamels, those kinds of guys. This is kind of what it looked like at this stage. He's 19 on draft day, didn't pitch over the summer, but everything this spring looked right.
He's 6'4", 200. That looked like a left-handed pitcher too.
Yeah, I said I liked Weatherhold's swing. It's just aesthetically the best. Mayfield, I think, is the prettiest arm of the high school left-handers.
Yeah, and honestly, if you're the Padres, I mean, you think you'd got a chance to get Caminiti, and then you get Mayfield. It's not a bad day right now.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State commit, two-time Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Oklahoma. But from a stuff standpoint, fastball's going to live 92, 93, 95. But he's shown some 97s. We kind of talked about it. I mean, it's kind of like we were talking about with Caminiti, and I don't think this is. I think you can be used to seeing this at the high school level to where the changeup is a little bit better than the breaking ball. I like his changeup a lot. Fastball's good arm side run. You can see it here against the right-handed hitter. And the curveball, I mean, it looks a little high school-y right now. Guess what? He was in high school. So that can happen sometimes. This doesn't. When he throws it right, he's got really good arm side run. Yes, it was out of the zone, but you see the movement on it. You start it inside the zone, let it go. That works well.
They're going to polish this kid off unbelievably. You saw the changeup right there. Once they figure out that he tips it, figure it out.
No.
The righties
Not
are going
already.
to struggle against that changeup.
Look at the reaction over there, Eddie. I mean, heads go down, hand in hand.
A 2-second clip. He's got him tipped.
Yankees are on the clock. The draft.
You're watching the 2024 MLB Draft, presented by Nike.
If I was back at the beginning, I would choose SNHU all over again.
If you're on the fence about getting your degree at SNHU, you can do it.
At SNHU, having the support that I had really helped me understand what I can accomplish.
After I graduated, I started a new job. My degree has opened new doors that I truly didn't know existed.
All it takes is one simple step, and it can change your life.
Start your future today at snhu.edu.
Any response to the trade rumors we keep hearing about?
Oh, we talking about moving? Not the trade. Not the trade. We talking about moving. No, thank you.
You could use Open Door. Sell your house directly to them. It's easy.
I guess we're moving.
Quickly replenish electrolytes lost from sweat. Tear, pour, live more.
Alfred. I'm coming in. Thanks, Alfred.
Dad, how many times have I told you just download the app?
Control your garage from anywhere. Download MyQ and get connected.
Hey folks, Chris Coonahan here with Leaf Filter, America's largest gutter and gutter protection company. Leaf Filter has over 150 locations and has been installed on over 1 million homes. We've been protecting homes now for over 20 years. Our patented technology offers total protection for your home and comes with a lifetime transferable warranty. The process is simple. Give us a call to schedule your free gutter inspection. If you decide to move forward with the project, you put nothing down at all. 833 Leaf Filter or visit leaffilter.com today.
5 picks left in the draft. Reminder that we have the Home Run Derby, T-Mobile Home Run Derby. That's tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Now less than 24 hours away on ESPN. StatCast Edition, ESPN2. The All-Star Red Carpet Show presented by Frutitas. That's Tuesday. And then, of course, we have ESPN Radio with the All-Star Game Tuesday at 8. The commissioner out with the Yankee pick.
With the 26th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the New York Yankees select Ben Hess, a right-handed pitcher from the University of Alabama. The Philadelphia Phillies have the next pick.
He wasn't a Friday starter, but he had some big outings for Alabama. Why not dip into the SEC again?
So the first thing here is ERA was 5.80. Fans are going to start there and be like, why are we taking this guy? Well, he's got a plus fastball, 2 above average off-speed pitches, throws it over the plate, has the starter qualities. I heard after the fact he was actually tipping his pitches in a couple of outings. I think that might explain the ERA a bit. Yep. The traits are here. I think the Yankees probably see a guy that they can make some moves with. The stuff is shaped similarly to Chase Hampton, now their top prospect pitcher, who they took in the 4th round, has similar kind of stuff. I see what they're thinking here. I'm surprised he went this high, but I could see this working out. They have done well with this kind of guy in the past.
He had just 7 starts 2 years ago, but the numbers in those 7 starts were very good for Ben Hess. And so I think the natural thought coming into this year was there's going to be a jump number-wise. The stuff's going to get better. There wasn't a jump number-wise. The curveball's real. Yeah. I mean, the swing and miss on the curveball is about 55% over the course of the year. That is a big-time number. Control wasn't real, and that was one of the issues this year. We've talked about this with a lot of college guys. When you get into pro ball, you don't have to immediately be good. It doesn't matter whatever isn't as good, you're going to throw more. And you're going to go out there every 5 days or 6 days and you're going to pitch. And I think that's what the Yankees see in Hess is at his best. Yeah, Berkey, he's got the kind of stuff that I think you would say projects to a pitch or to a pick like this. But if you saw him consistently this year, you would look at this as maybe a little bit of a reach.
Yeah, preseason, this is about where he was mocked. Like, people thought he was going to be a back end of the first round guy. But what I saw from him a lot this year, called a few of his games, like, he just nibbled more than somebody with his stuff. So he was constantly behind in counts. He does have swing and miss stuff, but there was just a feel that he didn't trust it. And I think if he gets that confidence back, the stuff certainly belongs in this part of the draft.
I wonder if the Yankees are going to try to develop a cutter for him against left-handed pitching. From his arm slot where he's at right there, that is something that the Yankees might tweak and might see with the spin that he has right now with his pitches. I think it's going to be interesting to see how they develop him for a back-end starter.
That's something Yankees player development excels at, is adding a pitch, saying you only throw it in this location, it works up here, it doesn't work down here. Right. That's why I'm like, I could see that there is maybe a shape, a location, a consistency, a mechanical issue. I think clearly have a point of view on this. I'll be curious to hear what it is in the coming days.
And how often does that happen in a situation like this? Where you're not, obviously you're not only looking at what happened this year, but you're looking at, okay, this is what he might not do now, but we think he can do when he gets into our system. Because if you're buying something like that, the rest of the stuff, like, yeah, if we can add something else that has the ability to pound the strike zone more, the ability to get some swing and miss, okay, now things change pretty quick.
Well, so much of this has to do with the faith you have in your own organization.
100%.
And the numbers that you look at that maybe this other organization doesn't necessarily look at. It strikes me that this is an odd song to be playing as we head to the bottom of the draft, that we have friends in low places. I don't quite get that.
I also think the Yankees are up to something here. Like, This feels like they've got a guy that they're trying to float that next pick.
They have done this before when they took Schmidt in the first round, undercut him because he was getting TJ, overpaid a high school guy at the next pick. The rumor the last month was the Yankees were looking at some kind of wacky high school names, including high school righties, but they historically don't take high school righties in the first round. I think Phil Hughes might have been the last one. I bet they got somebody earmarked already for that next pick for overslot. I bet has his underslot.
Maybe Luke Dickerson, if they can get him.
Braylon Dowdy, Boston Bateman, they've been tied to a lot of names.
Next on the clock, the Philadelphia Phillies, then the Astros, the Diamondbacks, and the Rangers. And we will conclude round one. The overarching stories, again, college players, minority players, high-class quality culture guys, and several who did not come out of high school thinking that they were going to be the end-all when it came to baseball. And here they are having their names announced tonight. All right, the Philadelphia Phillies, the front office has made their selection. The commissioner, Rob Manfred, is heading to the set.
With the 27th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Philadelphia Phillies select Dante Nori, an outfielder from Northville High School in Northville, Michigan. The Houston Astros have the next pick.
They're not booing the pick, they're booing the Houston Astros having the next pick here in the area. One thing about Nori, he can fly.
Yeah, so the Phillies, I would describe their approach the last few years as being risk-seeking. They will take high school righties. They will take guys like Aiden Miller, who is seen as maybe having a hit tool issue, old on draft day. Dante Nori, the oldest guy in a couple years on draft day. He's getting close to 20 years old as a high school player. Didn't face a ton of great competition in high school in Michigan, but he's a plus-plus runner. He's a fantastic athlete. He grades out really well athletically. A lot of teams think he's really going to hit. The funny thing is he was tied to the Yankees. I thought they were going to take him as a surprise high school guy. The Phillies have a lot of former Yankees guys in that organization. They tend to be on the same dudes. Turns out they might have picked the Yankees pocket on this one.
I'd like to tell you I heard anything you said. I heard nothing that you just said. They're killing the Astros here.
I can't hear myself now.
And this is another smaller outfielder who can run, but it's a high hit tool. And you kind of felt like maybe Slade Caldwell here, but it's interesting that Nori bumps up in front of him at this pick, but in that same kind of mold of like the high school hit tool that can really run.
Yeah, this is a profile of guy that teams like to take because they think they can develop the loft, the power, those sorts of things, that the athletic traits are there and the hit tool is there. And there is risk again from the age and the where he's been playing high school, but the upside is there.
I know you're getting, they're not booing you. Don't worry. Okay,
it's starting to go to my head.
Maybe they are booing you. You start talking again. I don't know. I don't think they're booing you. Hang with them. We're almost home.
Well, he clearly didn't feel they were because he just plowed through it.
Yes. Yeah, he did.
Unfazed.
How do you know, Carl? You didn't hear him.
Well, I could see he kept going.
Your lips are moving, and I'll hear it later.
I think the other part about tonight, before the commissioner comes out, like this is the culmination. It's not a lifelong thing that these guys have been dealing with, but the emotion that they show and the work that they put in to have their names called tonight, and you guys have done that, that's an amazing feat. That this early in your life to have that.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool to feel the grandness of the event, right? I love the fact that we have some of these guys on set so we can really get to know them a little bit, but then also, like with Culpepper, you feel the emotion, the culmination of a life's work, and especially some of these kids that, honestly, a couple years ago were just way off the radar.
Right. All right, before the commissioner comes up, joining him on the stage for the 28th pick is going to be Layla Robbins. She's a Houston Astros Nike RBI participant. She's played 2 seasons in the Nike RBI League and won a Nike RBI World Series last year. The commissioner, Rob Manfred, and Layla Robbins.
Yannick, a catcher from Sam Houston. The Arizona Diamondbacks have the next pick.
And they go with a catcher who was likely going to be picked a little higher than this, it felt like.
He's been kind of going back and forth because I think a lot of takes on the college catchers. He ended up being the first of the group. The belief was he'd be the third one behind Malcolm Moore and Loma Vida. He is a good defender. He's got an easily plus arm, great pop times. There's some power, there's some bat speed. He's performed well. The question is he going to wow you with the bat, or is he going to be just solid? He's definitely a catcher.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. How about this? 16 of 31 base stealers, Carl.
Pretty good. Yep.
It's not just a percentage. They only tried 31 times in 60 games. That's how efficient he is as a thrower. So you're definitely getting a big league catcher. To me, he was the safest of the catchers. We got Malcolm Moore, we got Loma Vida. He was the safest pick to show up and be an everyday regular behind the plate. And I think the Astros got themselves a big league starter behind the plate.
Yeah, this kid is special. When he got into the Sam Houston program, I just looked at the way he was able to make adjustments in his at-bats. And you look at 2022, where he had his bat and his stance, and he changed it completely. Could not handle pitches up in the zone. 2024, it was a different story. Now, from that 22, 23, he started mashing in 24. Anything that was hanging up in the zone, he understood how to be able to recognize it in the zone and then lift it. And not only to the pull side, but to the opposite field side. I was in one game in Miami at FIU, and that really, I mean, it raised an eyebrow when I saw how good he was on a pitch up and in and turning on it. This kid was elite. They knew he was a circle guy in that lineup, and they did not allow him to beat him. And guess what? He worked the counts in his favor, and he ended up beating teams.
Colton Cowser and Glenn Wilson, the only two other guys out of Sam Houston State. They were first rounders. And anytime you win the Posey Award,
yeah,
that kind of gives you credibility.
Probably pretty good at catching. Right. It usually works that way.
And we've seen the big league game going more toward the stolen base, maybe a little less on framing. He's got the big arm to shut down the running game. That's a real difference maker.
Yeah.
Whereas these hitters are, similar. These catchers are similar at hitting ability. They don't have an arm like this.
And it's down the road, but the Astros have had some issues behind the plate. I mean, that's been a problem. Again, this is down the road, but that's a position they'd like to solidify.
And he's got the arm, right? You nailed it right there ahead of time. Got the arm. He adjusts at the plate, depending on counts. I just think this kid is advanced for having played in a mid-major. I think he would have mashed even in a Power 5.
Yeah, and the batted ball data is good. Like, it's not crazy high exit velos, but he gets the ball in the air about 65% of the time. So he's already optimized the ability to launch the ball. The power has increased. I mean, the guy had 17 home runs. Like, he knows how to drive the baseball, and it was almost even walks to K. So we know catchers tend to not be the strongest at bats, but, like, he's got a chance to be an above-average hitting catcher. That's a nice first-round pick.
First catcher, too. First catcher taken in this draft.
Right.
I mean, it's taken a while. I think that the framing component, obviously, we talked about it in there, but there's enough offense, and we've seen stolen bases change dramatically the last few years in the big leagues. That arm makes a big difference in this.
Is that a thing that organizations, because there's such a premium on framing, stealing strikes, that you're now going to try to develop catchers to do that?
Yeah, there's definitely conversations when teams are talking about trades for guys in the minors or guys in the draft. It's how much of the value of being a good defensive catcher come from framing, what comes from arm. There was a belief there might be a robo zone and not a lot of stolen bases 4 or 5 years ago. Now it's like we might have a challenge system where framing might not be as important. The running game is being more enhanced. Is there a shift away from framing and more toward the arm? In this case, the arm for Yannick was the most important part of it. Loma Vida and Moore, less good at that. We thought they would go ahead of him. Now they go behind him.
Right.
Again, it's one pick, it's one team, but I think that may be the thought process behind it.
All right, we got 2 picks left. The Diamondbacks and the Rangers. 2 picks and 2 big events. T-Mobile Home Run Derby on both ESPN and a StatCast edition on ESPN2. And then the All-Star Game. It is going to be on Fox at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Paul Skeens is starting that game, by the way. I'm not sure we've dove too deep into that, but he's starting the National League All-Star game, and he's the guy.
I heard. Yeah. I heard he was the guy. Yeah, that's kind of a thing.
I feel like we've talked about him tonight a little bit.
We have.
How can we not?
Nearly enough.
Yeah.
All right, we got 2 picks left. Well, who do we want to see picked?
So we talked last draft about Braden Taylor out of TCU, where he was very optimized. Everything is pull and lift. can it work at a higher level? This year, Malcolm Moore, the catcher out of Stanford, that is the guy. The question is there going to be enough catch? Is he more of a first baseman, corner outfielder? He is very polished. We have heard that Texas at 30 is as far as he'll go. Do they have other guys ahead of him, or is he definitely the pick at 30? He, to me, is the interesting guy I want to keep an eye on because he could move quickly if this whole thing clicks.
Playing a copycat league, we just had a catcher. Somebody's going to take a catcher. That's how it works.
The 29th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Arizona Diamondbacks select Slade Caldwell, an outfielder from Valley View High School in Jonesboro, Arkansas. The Texas Rangers have the next pick.
They love the Caldwell pick.
Yeah, they're big fans of Slade here. So I'll start with the negative on Slade. He might be 5'6.5", 5'7". That's the limitation. The exit velos are not super high. This is not going to be a 20-30 home run guy in likelihood. But he's a plus runner. He's got outstanding instincts. He's an above-average defender. He's an outstanding force plate guy. All the acceleration with his hands and his feet suggests he's going to get to all the power he has. And then you look at him relative to Braylon Payne, some of the other center fielders that have gone in this draft. He's maybe one tick behind on power, but then maybe a tick ahead on hit tool. He's got the longest track record of hitting out of everyone. He's been a dude for multiple years.
And he's a 70 runner.
Yeah.
And if you think he likes to play, he's having his party in a cage.
Yes.
So you talk to the Ole Miss coaching staff about Caldwell, and this is what they'll tell you. Like, this dude loves to play to the point where it's like a Bazana in the way he energizes a clubhouse. They obviously were hoping to get him, but the fact he gets his name called, it's also interesting to me how teams are not scared of this body type in the first round anymore. Remember Jet Williams for the Mets a few years ago at 14 at like 5'8". And now you see Caldwell at 5'8", 5'9". We saw Sal Frelick go to the Brewers, a college player. To me, this is a very Sal Frelick kind of player. And the run tool probably the highest, but the hit tool's right behind it.
Sal Frelick's working out okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, these guys always make the big leagues. It's, Tyler Freeman, it's Tyler Black. It's all these various guys that get there, and you'll figure out what their role is. Are they a role 4 or a role 5? Are they a good platoon utility guy, or are they a low-end everyday regular? Every now and then you get the Jose Ramirez, the star guy, the Altuve, the Pedroia. That's sort of the range of possibilities here.
There's still a value to being a good baseball player. Like whatever the size is for everything else. Like
what about force plates, though?
Yeah, force plates matter. Okay, I was going to ask you about that. But good baseball players still work. You like them in your lineup. However tall or short, however fast they run, if you're a good baseball player, they're going to find a spot.
When you got invited to Caldwell's birthday party from ages 7 through 20, 19, we're going to the batting cage. That's what we're doing.
No bounce house. We are going to hit.
That's what we're doing.
No clouds. Here we go.
We got one pick left. You guys have any idea who it is?
Yeah, I think they're ready for it. I think we're going to see a catcher here.
I'll tell you this, though. At least you went to Tennessee. I went to Florida State. Where's your representation?
We ain't done yet.
Malcolm Morris is a shot right here. He gets a piece of Braden Montgomery.
Yeah, exactly.
You get 2 years of Braden Montgomery.
2 years of Braden Montgomery, and then if we get more, I didn't quite catch you, and I caught you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's all right. We're not done yet.
Well, the Rangers are the team that are on the clock. We just had the Astros bring out an RBI participant. The Rangers are going to do the same thing. They're going to join Rob on the stage. It's Luis Amador. He's a Texas Ranger Nike RBI participant since 2020. 4 seasons in the Nike RBI League and is part of the Rangers Youth Academy. I do think that as we leave here tonight, the minority thing is a real thing. I mean, in Major League Baseball, they're going to leave thinking like we're getting there. We're making strides.
And it's not only the minority thing; it's also the first pick from Australia.
Yeah.
We also got a representative from Curacao. Again, college baseball is setting all this thing up, and they're setting it up beautifully when it comes down to being able to recruit outside of the United States and convince these kids that going the college route is the right route.
All right, let's bring the commissioner up. The 30th pick, again, the Rangers, and we want to introduce this guy, Luis Amador, the Rangers Nike RBR participant for the last 4 years. He is part of the Rangers Youth Academy, and he will announce the Texas Rangers pick, number 30 overall.
With the 30th pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Texas Rangers select Malcolm Moore, a catcher from Stanford University.
We got another catcher.
It sounds like we're about to have bottle service come out. This place is insane.
They love it.
All right, Malcolm Moore. This guy's been a hitter since freshman, sophomore year of high school in Northern California. Follows it up. Doesn't quite get the money he's looking for out of high school. Goes to Stanford. Continues to hit, like we said, the open stance. He's got above average power, 20-25 homers, can hit, has an approach, has the components to catch. The question is the bat going to go so far ahead of the catching? He gets there before the catching's ready. Is he a corner utility kind of guy, a nice guy to have in the big leagues that can also be a backup catcher? What exactly is the role? This is a big league hitter, though.
Yeah, it's a funky operation, right? He gets to his spot, kind of odd. Reminds me a little of Sean Casey in certain ways, the way he moves. But the batted ball data is incredible. Like, he's hitting balls in the air 70% of the time. And it's weird because he had a bad year and a crazy offensive season. But if you really dial in on it, 9 more walks than strikeouts, and he hit 16 home runs. It's just like if you can get past the batting average, he actually is a really interesting hitting prospect. I think the bat's way less of a question mark than the glove. Can he actually stick behind the plate?
Yeah, that's the big question with him. And look, the one thing is, can he hit? And today we met Hal Morris, and when I saw Hal Morris, and I look at him right here, open stance, that foot, you see the toe tap, almost the way Hal Morris used to dance at the plate. He has an idea, and that's what you want. Yes, forget about the ear. Everybody can have a wash ear, but the thing that he has is the ability to pull, the ability to go the other way, the ability to shorten up also and adjust with 2 strikes. But the bat-to-ball skill is real. I actually project him to, he can easily play first base at the big league level in a couple years if he learns how to play it well. I still believe he can hit left-handed pitching. I just think it's a matter of repetition and confidence. And if you take him out of the plate, he's going to hit more.
Boys, there's fair ballparks on the West Coast, which is why you don't see as many home runs. That's one of the biggest things. I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of that. Ballparks on the West Coast, fair for both pitchers and hitters. I just wanted to see the eye roll right here, just to make sure I saw it before we get done.
Move along.
All right?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. That's why the SEC teams keep winning the World Series. That's it. Unfair ballparks.
Well, the first round is now in the books. We're going to take a timeout. We'll come back, review it. Maybe a couple of grades to the teams, the players. Either way, any name you see there, congratulations to all of them on being first-round picks in the Major League Draft.
The 2024 MLB Draft is presented by Nike. Just do it.
You know, they certainly hope a lot of the guys tonight were going to be horses down the stretch for these teams. Home Run Derby, you'll see a whole bunch of balls going over the wall. That's Monday, 8 Eastern, ESPN and the ESPN2. The All-Star Game presented by MasterCard, Tuesday, 8 o'clock Eastern Time on Fox. How about that? Right away, the Guardians have already adopted Travis Bazzana. And I'll say this, Jeff Passan, his attitude is, and it's always been this way, someone's got to be the best. Why are they the best? And how can I do that? That's his goal, as well as representing Australia.
And Carl, Travis Bazzana's joining the best organization in the American League right now. The Guardians go into the All-Star break as the best team in the AL. They had a 2% chance of getting the #1 pick. So this was pure luck. And they passed up Charlie Condon, the Golden Spikes winner. They passed up Jack Caglione, and they're making a bet on Travis Bazzana that he is going to be elite, and it's a big bet to make. Berkey?
Yeah, to me, the story of this draft is that Jack Caglione fell to the 6th pick. I think last year we talked about how Cruz and Langford would kind of always be married. In this draft, it feels like Kurtz and Caglione might be a little married. We'll follow that. But I think if you're the Royals and you have Bobby Witt Jr., one of the great players in the game today, Jack Caglione could be the most famous player in baseball one day. He's got that kind of potential and star power it factor. So for them to get him at 6, what a steal.
I got Vance Honeycutt at 22, and I think it's ideal for the Orioles because you're so loaded with young talent. You don't necessarily – you can take a chance right here because you've been right a lot. And I think being right a lot indicates that there's some confidence in taking Vance Honeycutt. Met a table full of people 2 weeks ago down in the Bahamas. Walked in, the first thing they asked, where does Vance Honeycutt get drafted? Vance Honeycutt is a household name if you're a college baseball fan. Now they know where he's drafted, and I think he's got a chance to be a star.
His family was in the Bahamas, too?
They were not. No.
International interest in Vance Honeycutt. Who knew?
Okay, speaking international, let's stay right there on the international side, right? 2 international guys being picked in this draft, both out of college, and 9 minority kids. 9. Think about the last time that's ever happened in a draft. And most of them coming out of college. So that tells you right there that the college baseball scene is real, and they're starting to recruit kids from the inner cities. They're starting to get out there, and they're starting to make it a reason why you're going to diversify that area to get talent at the major league level.
I talked in the pre-show about the lack of bulk at the top of the draft when it comes to high school players. We only saw 2 go in the top half of the first round. We saw 8 go in the back half of the first round. The 2 best high school pitchers, Cam Caminiti, Cash Mayfield. We saw a couple intriguing developmental guys, Kellen Lindsay, Dante Nori. I think there's going to be a star in that group of the 8 guys in the back of the first round. There's a lot of really good player development organizations. I'll be interested to see which one of these guys breaks out. Last year, Cole Emerson. We'll see who it is this year.
Well, Major League Baseball has always wanted more players to be here, and to see the emotion on the guys' faces as they got their names picked was phenomenal. And congratulations again to all 30 of the men that were selected. Round 1 of the draft is in the books. The future is now for these guys. They went from T-ball to Little League. Some played in college, others right out of high school. They're wearing uniforms tonight they only dreamed about wearing, and soon they'll be grinding their way, which is something they all have in common, to that next and ultimate level, Major League Baseball. With Chris Burke and Kyle Peterson, Eduardo Perez and Kylie McDaniel, and the entire crew behind the scenes who work their butt off. You talk about grinders. They do an amazing job, led by Greg Colley, our producer. Thanks to Rapsodo for all the video that we were afforded. It's been a wonderful night. Join us for the Home Run Derby tomorrow night. And I'm Carl Roberts saying so long. Here's Michael Eaves and Nicole Briscoe.